Listen. Can't hear me. What's going on?
Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello, love.
Got it on now.
Fantastic. Oh,
yeah, it's not that bad, Glenda. It's great.
Fantastic. Naz, hi.
Hi, Julia.
Hello,
hi,
darling.
I've got my daughter with me as well.
Hi,
daughter.
Yeah, she wanted to see what Preston Windrush is all about. So I said, why don't you come on the meeting and then you can find out along with me.
Oh,
good idea.
Fantastic. Welcome. Welcome. Glad that you're here. And I'm so glad that you're here because we've got Alison here again tonight. And we've got the lovely Julia Davidson, Anthony and Mark and Jen and Sam. And as we start off the night, it's called FreeTalk, so it's very relaxed and just be yourself. It's a safe environment where we can share our experiences and also learn from that. So we always take away something from that, so that's something that we can. I'm multitasking, so that we can do something in the future. As people are coming in, and it's still early, it'd be best if we can introduce ourselves. I ask for like 60 seconds to 2 minutes, just to introduce yourself, who you are, where you are, and about Windrush. What is it that you know about Windrush, or what you'd like to know and find out more about the Windrush scandal and things like that? So I'm going to start with Alison because she's in my first corner. Hi, Alison.
Hello.
And Alison, I've got to say, you need to link up. Naz, you need to link up with Alison. But Alison, please introduce yourself, where you're from, and how you're part of this network here.
Okay, so I'm Alison, and I live in Bury in Greater Manchester, and I work in an organisation called Equality and Diversity UK. So I'm very big on equality and diversity and work with lots of big organisations, football clubs, police, you name it, we work with them. And I'm linked up to this organisation because Windrush is very dear to my heart. My dad came in the Windrush times, and he loves to tell me loads and loads of stories about it. And one of the things that I haven't said before, but when my dad went back to live in Barbados, when Barbados was becoming independent, one of the things he said to me as a 17-year-old girl is that you must go and get a naturalisation certificate, because you don't know when this country is going to turn its back on you. And at 17, always been here since I was 5 years old. I didn't understand it, but I always did as I was told. And I went and got one. And actually, it was the best thing that I ever did, and the best advice he ever gave to me. And my brother and sisters the same, because we would have been in that same situation as all these people who have gone through this. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next is Julia. Julia Davidson. Hi. Welcome again.
Hiya, darling. Hello, everybody. Good evening. The name's Julia Davidson. I live in Peterborough, and I'm an ex-councillor. I'm a Windrush activist and Peterborough community leader. So why am I involved with Windrush? Well, firstly, because of my brother Sam, and secondly, I was introduced to this group. I've been with the group ever since, which is Preston Windrush. Like what it's all about. Obviously, we've worked on various different areas, and collectively we've been able to succeed and, if you like, apply some pressure onto the government regarding the Windrush scandal. That's me.
Thank you. Sam?
My brother.
Hi, my darling. Twice in one day, Sam. I've just unmuted you, I think.
I'm Sam. I'm a veteran now, and
Did you say?
Julie's my youngest.
Did you say?
Huh?
Did you say you're a veteran?
Yeah, in this meeting now. Yeah. I'm not a newbie, and Julie's my younger sister. Hard to believe in it. Anyway, Glenda, Anthony, and Sakina got me this group, so I'm happy be here. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And why are you here, Sam? You do a lot more than that, you know.
Well, sorry for that. I was a Windrush victim, lost 2 jobs. Ended up being poorly, pacemaker, monitor as well. And it's just one of them things I don't like talking about. Anyway, these lot here brought back to reality.
Oh, wonderful. And I'm sure we're going to hear more from Sam later on this evening. And that's part of what we do here. It's a way to share experiences, but also enlighten and empower each of us throughout the evening and going on in the week. Jodie, hi. Unmute yourself. Oh my God, Julia.
Hello.
I've got to say, Jen, you're going to love this lady. Anthony, everybody's going to, we emailed, but
yeah.
Are you in Wolverhampton?
I'm in Manchester, yeah, but I'm from Wolverhampton, but I'm living in Manchester.
So Anthony, you need to link up with Jodie. Absolutely amazing. We could have talked all day today.
Yeah, I love to ramble. I'm going to try not to ramble now.
Hello, Jodie.
Hello.
Jodie's going to link up with a lot of us, and I've already asked her to speak for about 10, well, she doesn't know that, about 10, 15 minutes. She's got interesting story, experience, and why she's here tonight. And I think that Jodie's going to become part of our family.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Jodie. I'm based in Manchester, but I'm from Wolverhampton. And basically, I've been a performer all my life, session singer, backing singer for Soul to Soul. I'm a songwriter, very creative person. And last year I decided I wanted to make a piece of theatre as I trained as an actress back into early 2000s, but got told that as a black person, I'll never work as an actress. Anyway, that was what I got told. Anyway, I've come back to theatre, I've come full circle now. I was like, I'm back. And I decided that I wanted to make a piece of theatre about the Windrush scandal. There's no play out there. There's no platform for this story and the voices of the Windrush generation in Theatreland, which I think is really bizarre. I mean, there's shows out there from that cover back in the 40s and 50s, but there's nothing about this current situation that's happening now. So it's going to be a one-woman show about a lady that is branded an illegal immigrant, that is faced with deportation, that is going through that struggle, that is targeted by the Home Office. It's going to have physical theatre, it's going to have song in it. I've had some meetings with the Lowry and the Royal Exchange. Everybody that's seen my first draft of the script is very excited about it because, again, it's never been done before. And especially now, with everything that's obviously been happening in the media, people want to hear these stories now more than ever. So part of the development of the script is using real people's experiences and words. So I'm at the process now where I want to have discussions and talk to people and use part of their own words to form part of the script. So I basically want to put the Windrush community's words on stage, and it's never been done before, and it needs doing. We've got to keep the conversation going, and you know, everybody wants to talk, everyone wants to connect, and it's something I just want to bring people together and make some as a whole community, and go to Theatreland and be like, put this on stage. This has been created because the media, yeah, it talks about, you know, the scandal still, but I just think if dramatizing it is going to hit people harder, it's going to make people feel something they've never felt before, rather than looking on reading a news article about it. So like me and Glenda were saying, like sitting in limbo, the fact that there's these dramatizations starting to happening now, I think that's a lot more powerful. So yeah, I have got work, unfortunately, tonight, because I lost all my work as a self-employed singer, so I am stacking shelves at Tesco now. So I start at 10 o'clock, but I will be reading my audio book, The Windrush Betrayal. So yeah, I'm still researching, and I've managed to connect with a church in Manchester. I don't know if you know it, Alison, called Brunswick. It's a church. I'm doing a workshop with them, having a discussion already. That's planned. So yeah, so I'm hoping to connect with everyone, and we can have a kind of a great discussion with some questions further down the line, and yeah, get some great material and get some great real voices to put on stage.
Okay, good. Jodie, can I just say that I'm the chair of Cartwheel Arts in Rochdale.
Oh, brilliant.
And I'll send you my email address to connect you to them.
Brilliant. Yeah, I've got a document that tells you more about the play and stuff. So I don't know if can I put documents on here, or can I upload, or Glenda can send it out to everyone.
Yeah, put the link in the chat, Jodie, and the link. I've already said to Jodie today, because we were on the phone this morning, and we was like, oh, because you had to go off and do things, I had to go off. We could have chatted.
Yeah.
And I went, you got to be there tonight.
I'd be here all night if I didn't have to go and work.
Just those few minutes, you speaking, you know what I mean? We can feel your energy, your passion, your the power that you've got, you know what I mean? And I really think that being part of this group and this network is absolutely amazing. And it feels like you're just down the road. And as I always say, our free talk is like, it's like my home is your home, is everybody's home.
Yeah, and this free talk is just people are just gonna say their thoughts and feelings, and that everyone needs to hear that, not just this group, here and beyond.
Fantastic. And we want to hear, especially from you young people, and I know you're going to touch on that later. Fantastic, Jodie. Stay as long as you can.
Yeah.
And share your link. Moving on to Jen.
Hi, I'm Jen from Preston, and I was invited to this group by another friend who's not able to make it tonight. I was chatting to another friend today who's came to the country when she was 6. She's from Pakistan and grew up in Bradford with 9 brothers and sisters, and she's a local counsellor for Preston, and she was telling me today that she's supporting the ex-servicemen. She's got like a portfolio for the council to support ex-servicemen in the army, and I was kind of realizing that what she's doing is kind of what I'm doing, because I haven't experienced a Windrush scandal myself, but I'm trying to, by coming to these meetings every day, I'm trying to have a better understanding and challenge my stereotypes that I've had in the past and my bias. And I think that's what she's doing as well. And I kind of realized that today. But I've been coming here since about March, I think, and I've just met some really wonderful people, and I feel really lucky to have met everybody, and I'm really supportive of the Windrush pioneers, and anything I can do to help, I'm here, and great to see everyone.
Fabulous, fabulous. Thank you, Jen. And moving on, and because we're multitasking between us all, it's been a busy day. I'm going to go on to Naz. Can't see you, but Naz.
You can't, because unfortunately, this is why I don't like working from home. My internet's so poor, it keeps dropping. So you're going to have to miss my beautiful face. But if I vanish, it's because I'm trying to find another internet connection. So I'm Naz. I'm from Lancashire BME Network, the Chief Officer. And I feel really privileged actually to be on this call, because I've been invited by Glenda previously, and then it gets late in the evening and messing around with the kids, cooking, cleaning. And before I know it, I've missed it. So I've made a conscious effort today to get everything done, get a brew and sit down and wait. And I was on this call at 8:15. So I'm ready here and waiting. And what I'm really interested in is, although we are a BME network, and Glenda's raised this recently with one of my colleagues, we as people of colour don't work together. We're not united, and we need to be, because we are people of colour and we have the same issues or similar issues. And when it comes to Black people and Black Lives Matter, as South Asian people, we haven't stood with you, or I don't think we have, and we need to be standing with you, because the issue is the same across all races and all ethnicities and all faiths. So if you're a person of colour, at some point in your life, you're going to experience discrimination, and we need to stand with each other. So for part of my role as Chief Officer for Lancashire BME Network, I want to be more supportive of this group and of you, Glenda, and see what we can do to help push your agenda forward. So recently we've become involved with Equally Ours, U-Belly Initiative, Voice for Change, and it's an opportunity to help push this agenda forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Naz.
Glenda, can I just come in there?
Yes.
Thank you, Glenda. Naz, first thing you can do is drop the BAME, because I can't stand it. I absolutely loathe it, and it's not representing of me. So I'd appreciate if you could lose that, and then we'll get on famously.
Okay.
No problem at all, Julia. No problem.
I'll second that. I was feeling the same thing. I'm thinking, who is BAME?
Yeah.
I've never called myself that. Why has somebody suddenly found a name for me that I haven't given myself?
Again, that is part of the discussion that we had a few weeks ago, and I'm sure it's going to form part of that discussion tonight also. But I appreciate what you said, Julia and Anthony, and thank you so much, Naz. I'm so glad to see you here, and I know that you support the community, and we've had discussions, and of course I've spoken to Jonathan and others in the Black, minority and ethnic groups. Okay, moving along swiftly. Daniel, I hope we can see you, Daniel.
Hello.
Hi, Daniel. Hi, Daniel. Can you briefly tell us who you are, where you are, how you got involved with Preston Windrush, the Windrush Community Response, and what you'd like to get from this meeting tonight and going forward, please?
Yes, I'm Councillor Daniel Duckworth. I'm Preston City Council. Yeah, Daniel, I'm breaking up. Hang on, I'll turn the video off, see if you can hear me better then. So yeah, I got involved in the Windrush Community Response quite a number of weeks ago now, helping delivering after a council meeting actually that we had. Another councillor mentioned it, and I've loved being involved. Helped get a building the other day, which was great. So we managed to carry on, and yeah, I absolutely love being part of the Windrush Community Response, and I want to learn more about the Windrush, and I want to support you all as much as I can.
Fantastic. Thank you, Daniel.
And I think Julia is amazing as well.
Julia?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thank
you. We're seeing a lot more of Julia now.
Fantastic. Mark, are you there? Mark Worley? Mark, can you hear me? While we're waiting for Mark. Glenroy, good evening. Welcome again.
Yes, greetings. How's everyone?
Yeah, and can you see I've got my t-shirt on?
That's not the same as sending me a picture, is it?
Oh yeah, well, I will do that. And Anthony.
Okay. Until then, you know. But great to see that. Yes, greetings. My name is Glenroy Watson. I'm the secretary of the Global African Congress. It's a reparation Pan-Africanist group. And I'm also the secretary of the RMT Trade Unions Black Solidarity Committee. I don't know if people watch the media is getting some negative press about our union. I'll just say, hold on, listen to the members rather than the media who've never really supported us. So I think somebody said, how can you bring somebody down, you never help to build them up? So hang fire. Hopefully, no, I don't think anybody here may have heard it. So maybe I didn't have to say anything, but we are going through some difficulty in the RMT at the moment. That's it. Good to be here. Even the pressure of re-registering every evening for some mysterious reason, but we press on.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much, Glenroy. And as I said, I think you're part of the, you know, the what's the word? The ground roots. You know, with Anthony, and we've got Julia and Sam and Anna and everybody who forms part of these meetings. You would be deeply missed if he wasn't here, but it's good to see you again. Going on to Anthony Brown. Would you like to introduce yourself, and then we'll go on to Anna? You're on mute, sorry.
Yes, I'm the chair of Preston Windrush Generation and Descendants. I'm also co-founder of Windrush Defenders, which runs surgeries to help people who have been affected by the Windrush scandal get the documents to confirm their legal status to be in this country. I also help with compensation. So we have a group that are volunteers. So we do all that work pro bono. I came here in '67 with my mum and 4 siblings from Jamaica to join my dad, who was studying here. And then we went back to Jamaica in '73. My dad was one of those few people who said they were coming to Britain for 5 years and actually meant it and went back. But by that time, I'd been to school, spent some formative years here. And so when we went to Jamaica, I wanted to come back. I came back, and then a few years later, after I'd been to college, wanted to go to uni, and got told by the Home Office that I wasn't British and I was going to be deported. So of course I was terrified, upset, but the community rallied round and we had an anti-deportation campaign, and eventually Mrs. Thatcher said I could stay. Roll on 35 years, I'm giving away my age now. And I'd had various developments in life and decided that I didn't, because I didn't get to go to uni, and I wanted to study law. So in 2012, I decided, it was my last chance to actually do what I should have done before. So I did a law degree through the Open University, and I was due to graduate in 2018, and the Windrush scandal broke, and it brought back memories as to what had happened. And so I dedicated myself to supporting the community because I felt that they'd supported me. So that's what we've been doing, and met with Glenda through one of the surgeries, and she's been dragging me all around the country, getting me involved in all sorts of things, all kinds of groups, introducing me to all kinds of people, and the work just grows and grows, but it's absolutely brilliant. I love it. And at the moment we're trying to, as well as help people with rectifying their status and getting compensation, we want to change the law as well. And we feel that it was the law over 50 years being changed and taken away rights from the Windrush generation that caused all these problems that led to people being deported or put in detention, or even the extreme, dying in the streets. But I must say that despite all that, I've got 2 children who were born here, and we've got to look to the future, and I do love Britain. And so what I think of when I think of Britain is the future. So although all these things are happening or have happened, I always believe that we can build a better future. So that's why I like meeting with people, sharing my experiences, listening to them, in the hope that we're going to be making more and more connections with people, and then go forward as one community.
Thank you, Anthony. Oh, everybody's clapping. Have you seen that, Anthony?
No, I can't see that.
Oh, you see the bowing? Okay.
Can I ask Anthony a question?
Certainly.
Roy, 1 minute, too early.
Just wanted to know if you remember. No, I'll forget if I don't ask now. You said about coming back the second time.
Yes.
Do you remember whether there was a return ticket or anything like that? Because, one of the things we were discovering is when a lot of people came, because they were coming to settle, they paid the horrendous price of a one-way ticket. So I just wonder people know whether, whether you could remember if there's, probably won't, but I just thought I'd ask.
Not really, because my mum dealt with all of that. I was only 17 at the time, and I just kept pestering her because I missed
Sorry,
my
is the
brother.
audio gone?
I missed my brother and
I
my
can't hear
friends. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me, Glenroy?
Yeah. Glenroy, can you hear?
He's gone. So I'll answer him when he comes back.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. And I'm sure we're going to touch on that as we've got quite a heavy topic. And people kept saying to me, what's the topic? And we'll go on that shortly. Anna, can you, and welcome this evening. I know we've had a long day. Would you like to introduce yourself, how you're involved, what you do, where you are?
Okay, my name's Anna. I live in Preston. I've met Glenda probably about a year or so ago. And we're partners in crime.
Starting with Unite Community, yes, go on.
Yeah, I'm active with Unite Community and the Labour Party.
Fantastic. Is that it? Okay.
Anna, all Tories aren't all monsters, are we?
Not all tourism, no, and it's not political. This it's not political, although it is. But we'll go on that shortly, Daniel.
Of course you're not.
Hi, Michael. You all right? Welcome again.
Good evening.
Oh,
Good evening.
Hi, Michael. You all right?
I'm fine, thank you.
Fantastic. Great to see you again. I'm sure you've seen most people here tonight. We've got some new people, but it's good to see you again. Could you briefly, excuse me, introduce yourself, where you are, why you come, and how, you're involved with Windrush. I know you do Windrush in your own, community, which is part of this, but just introduce yourself, sorry.
Okay, so good evening. Michael Dawkins, live in Preston. You could say all my life. Parents are Jamaican. I'm Jamaican. I was born in Jamaica, and therefore, in one sense, I was caught up in this Windrush situation. But I got my I got naturalisation quite a long time ago. But if I hadn't, then I would have got into a situation like a lot of other people. So I'm very fortunate, and maybe I'll talk about that sometime in the future. Excuse me. In terms of Preston Black community, I've been involved over the years in quite a few different things. Carnival. We have a local Caribbean West Indian club. I'm involved on the committee of that. It's struggling. Especially now with COVID and the restrictions. So yeah, that's me. I'm just generally interested in our culture and our people and the situation that we're facing. I do enjoy coming and at least watching and listening to FreeTalk. I don't often have my video and make comments. Usually by 9 o'clock, I'm in bed or something. So I'm unable to just, be involved as active as you guys. I'm often doing something else while taking it in. But I do appreciate everybody else's contribution, and I don't want to just lurking. I just wanted to take this opportunity to say to Sam, Sam, we met at the county hall during your citizenship. Is Sam in tonight?
Yes, he is here.
Yes, I am. Yeah. Were you with us two women?
That's right. That was me, Sam. And I only made the connection. Yeah. I only made the connection with you, Sam, when I listened back a couple of weeks ago when you told your story. And as soon as you mentioned that you was a doorman, that's when I thought, hey, this rings a bell. I know this guy. And then obviously I put one and one together.
I took a number as well. Yeah.
Did you? Yeah. All right. Yeah. So we'll catch up again. We'll catch up again.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
All right.
Okay.
More time.
Wonderful.
Okay. Back over to you, Glenda.
Thank you so much, Michael. Brilliant. And then we're going to go to the last, which is Cecil, and then I'm going to introduce myself. Cecil, welcome tonight. Cecil Walsh.
Hi, yeah, good evening. Sorry I'm late. Hi, Michael. I'm glad to catch you on.
You've got Julia waving at you here.
Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Julia. Nice one. Yeah, Cecil Walsh. What can I say? It's a long story. It's been a long journey. But at the present time, I'm still working for Lancashire County Council. It's been 28 years, I believe. But doing this work for over 30 years. I'm the Community Education Liaison Officer for Lancashire County Council, part of the Ethnic Minority and Gypsy Roman Travellers Support Service.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm also a member of Windrush. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and welcome everybody. As many of you know, if you know me, my name's Glenda Andrew. I'm looking for a Jodie. I'm the co-founder of Preston Windrush Generation and Descendants. I don't usually do this. However, prior to the Preston Windrush Generation and Descendants UK and the Windrush Community Response and the advocacy and all that, I'm a life coach, wrote a book about, and it was called Power to Question. And I met Sakina prior to that. Apparently, well, not her, but I knew, her dad knew me when I was 5 years old, which is interesting. It's amazing. So I was at her dad's, the founder, first wedding. It was the first wedding of a mixed couple in Preston. And her dad is an English guy, white guy, and he met my dad's best friend's daughter, and they married in Preston. And we met, of course, like I said, years and years later. When I came to do the Preston Windrush, me and Sakina went to, after speaking to, and this is going on to what we're going to be talking about tonight, me and Sakina went to Manchester, because what we found was there was even citizen advice, there was nowhere to go for information, advice, or guidance with what we was being shown about status. Because the first thing was, someone says to you, "You're not British," but hang on, I'm born here. My children are born here. My father's here. My mother's here. So the first thing was about who can we talk to? And we went to Manchester, the Windrush Millennium Centre. And when I first went there, I have to say, I was blown away. I was blown away by, oh God, I can't remember his name now. Anthony. Oh, his name. Oh God, what's his name?
Hartley.
Hartley. I think it was. He even said, "Do you want a cup of tea?"
Yeah, Hartley Handley.
And I thought, how Lancashire is that? Do you know what I mean? That was like so real. It was like, yeah, do you want a cup of tea? Do you know what I mean? And he made you feel so welcome. And then of course we met Anthony Brown. And I remember when we left there, and we got to the train station, me and Sakina, and I said, "Anthony, we've just started this. I think we'd only been going about 3 weeks." And I said, "Anthony, would you like to be the chair of our group?" And Anthony straight away said, yes. And we didn't know what we was doing. We didn't know where it was going. But I did feel there was a connection there. And that for me has been what has driven us. A few months later, we ended up going to Westminster with Sakina's auntie and uncle, who are the trustees of Preston Windrush. And I remember saying to Sakina, "What are we doing here at Westminster?" And she said, "I don't know." I said, "Neither do I." Because Sakina for me was the first, because we were talking about, we heard about the Windrush generation, but something was showing us those children, those young people that are born in the 80s to 2006, right? And there's a lot of them. my children are part of that. And many of you have probably got children in that group, are part of that. And Sakina is as well. So we just knew that there was something that we need to do, and we went there. And I'll never forget David Lammy, because I said to Sakina, I said, Sakina, you got to say something. She said, I can't. She was shaking. Poor girl, she was shaking. And so I said, I put my hand up and I said, hi, my name's Glenda Andrew from Preston. And David Lammy said, I know who you are. He said, thank you for coming from Preston. And he said we'd speak later. And he also said, because I was saying, if there's anyone else like Sakina that's been affected by this Windrush scandal, and they said there was no one. And we know there are many. We know there are many. So part of what we do really is about raising awareness. And since partnering with Anthony and him being our chair, we've grown, we've learned, done a lot of research, the race disparities, education, criminal justice, education. I'm thinking if there's anything else, and work and employment. Now tonight, I'm going on to tonight, every week for the last, I think 3 or 4 weeks, we've touched on identity, status, proof, about who we are. And the children have just gone back to school. And I think it was Jen who mentioned about a sense of belonging. And the interesting thing is, and that's the question I'm going to ask, Anthony doesn't know this yet, but he's going to be in the hot seat because he's the historian. But it's about a sense of belonging, and identity to me is about knowing who you are and where you belong. But also a lot of people are feeling injustice. I never felt injustice till I started doing this, to be honest. And I want to know if anybody else is feeling injustice. What do you do? Who do you go to? How can you manage the injustice that you feel that's being directed at you? Regardless, and although it's to do with colour, because a lot of people will say to me, yeah, but it's not to do with colour. And I go, oh, yeah, it is, because you brought it up. But it is to do with colour, because if you're bringing it up, it's to do with colour. However, I just want to open it out and see what you all think and feel and believe and take it, because this is free talk. Is that all right, Anthony?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay, and take it forward.
Yeah.
Like I said, up until recently, I learn, trust me, I learn every single day, even down to today. I learn every single day. I'm emotional. I love every single one of you. I've met amazing friends. Cecil Walsh is on here, Michael, Jen, every single one of you. I learn from you all the time, but not just me. And I have to say that there are other people who are aware of what we're doing, and not everybody can come on every week, but they gain something from this, that they learn and they grow and they stand in their power. Alison, from day one, you know what I mean? I don't even know how it happened, but you've been amazing and supportive. And I just want everybody to know Alison, and that she allows you to grow and learn for yourself. So I'm going to stop talking, but my first question is, have any of you felt any injustice? And I'm looking now, I'm not looking at the past, right now, in the last, let me say 14 weeks, have you felt any injustice? And please put your hand up. And if you've got any comments or you want any questions, please put them in the chat. So in the last 14 weeks, the first question, have you felt or feel any injustice to you? And I'm just throwing it out there at the moment. Hi, Marie, welcome. And I'm going to ask Anthony to be the chair. And then hopefully you'll be able to ask Marie to introduce herself. But yes, so that's the first question. Injustice, have anybody felt any injustice? Go, Anthony, he didn't know about this.
I can't see any hands. Does anybody want to respond to that? Has anybody? Okay, Cecil.
And we've got Julia as well and Sam.
Okay. Cecil?
Yeah, I've felt injustice from day one, even being coming from Dominica. But you're talking about within the past few months. I work for Lancashire Council, and part of my job is to, as I say, I'm the community education liaison officer. Part of my job is to work with our young people, especially those who are having problems, issues within schools. So one of the things which I do with them is to try to empower them, to give them a sense of belonging, empowerment. Because one of the things which they say to me is that the only thing they teach us in school is about slavery. And so I laugh and I go, right, okay, next time we meet, I'm going to give you something. So I started off by giving them articles on Black inventors and scientists, etc. And they were amazed that Black people had actually done and achieved these things. What I've been doing is trying to create an environment
Frozen.
But within the whole of Lancashire.
Cecil, can you just repeat what you've said? You froze then. You're trying to create an environment.
Yeah, I try to create an environment, not just within Lancashire County Council, but within the whole of Lancashire, that people are aware of our achievements as Black people, people of African heritage, because as we all know, our truth has been hidden from view.
Thank you.
And we are living in a false reality, all of us. So that's the kind of environment I've been trying to achieve, but I've been attacked.
Wow.
On a regular basis for trying to bring that force forward.
Wow.
So yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Cecil. And I think next was Julia and then Sam.
Yeah.
Thank you, Glenda. And I felt that, Cecil, I have to say, but moving swiftly on, and I'll no doubt talk to you at some point regarding that. I noticed something the other day. I was out with my husband. I'm not going to name the retail store, but just of late, we've got a security man that stands at any of the retail outlets, and that's what's going on currently in Peterborough. So he beckoned us in because we had to formulate in a queue to get in. And I've decided to go mask free, but I've got on my phone an exemption picture to say that I'm exempt from wearing a mask. Anyway, gone into the store, did my shopping, and I noticed while I was walking around in the store, because as you're all aware, we've got like a one-way system, so you can't dawdle. You've just got to go to the point where you need to be, get whatever it is that you need to get, and then proceed back onto the arrow and follow it all the way around to the checkout. And because I wasn't wearing a mask, and because of the colour I am, I heard it's their fault.
Oh, bloody hell.
So there was no kind of, they didn't call me out personally, they just threw it out in the air.
Oh, wow.
And I ignored that. I thought, I'm not going to bite. I wanted to, but I thought I'm not going to do that. But what I did do, when I got to the penultimate point of going to the checkout, the usherette came forward and she said, "Are you paying by cash or card?" And I said, "By card." So of course, that made me jump the queue. So she told me where to go. I did my transaction and my purchase and everything. And she didn't ask me why I wasn't wearing a mask, but I found myself saying, "I'm really sorry, I'm not wearing a mask, and here's the reason why." And I just turned my phone to her so that she could see. So she said, "Thank you very much for that, love." She went, "No problem, on you go." So I went through, not thinking anything more of it, bearing in mind the security man who saw us at the shop together saw me and my husband go in, and my husband was only a split second in front of me. The security man said to my husband, "Thank you," and completely chose not to make any reference to me. And I thought, wow. So injustice, I would say, in terms of injustice, it was the treatment I received. One, because I'm Black. Two, because I chose not to wear a mask and I've been medically exempt from wearing a mask. And thirdly, there was no gesture of "thank you for coming into the store" or "thank you for shopping here." Completely disregarded, to the point of when we got outside into the car park, my husband said, "It's subtle, but I noticed it." Now, if that's the theme, I wonder what else is going to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Julie. And I'm sure there's a lot of comments that's going to come back to there. Sam and Anthony, but we've got some new visitors in the room. I just want to introduce and welcome Raj Gill from Unite in London. Hi, Raj. I would like to just let him introduce himself just for a minute. He's been absolutely amazing these last couple of days. Is that all right, Anthony?
Yeah, sure.
Fantastic. Raj, please could you introduce yourself and to the group? I know we've started, but I'm glad you're here. Thank you.
Well, first, sorry, my name is Raj Gill. I'm the branch secretary for the Unite community, part of the Unite the Union West London branch. And we've been having Zoom meetings during the lockdown for the last 6 months on a weekly basis. So, we been in touch with people in Latin America, in Africa, and then we're going to be in touch with people in South Asia. So all around the globe, really. And we have different meetings on various subjects. But I think the important meetings we've been having, or I have attended, has been on Windrush, part of the Windrush Foundation. And we had a meeting on transatlantic slavery, on Black Lives Matter. So we've been involved very actively in all sorts of different campaigns. And I think this, I've got in touch with, initially with Joanne.
Yeah, with
Joan. And, sorry?
With Joan.
Joan. I'm just getting used to the names.
Actually, she's underneath you.
Yeah. And obviously, it's the first time I met most of you. I think I met Glenn Roy many times at the picket lines for the RMT. So he's been around a while, and I've been around a while in trade union activities. So it's nice to see you all, and hopefully we can work together and do some things together.
Fantastic. And I hope that, and I'm glad to see you here, Raj. Thank you for coming. And I'd like to introduce you or connect you with Naz from the Lancashire Black Minority Ethnic Group in Lancashire. So Naz is on the call, and I'm hoping that she can connect with you.
All right, okay. I don't see him, I see his name though.
Okay, fantastic. Welcome, Dave Williams, Silver Afro TV, booms in the house. Dave, we do like to welcome everybody. And
yep.
David Wiles, hi.
Hello there. I'm a first-time contributor to this Zoom space. I'm an old friend of Joan's. I met Joan in.
He's my best friend. He's just being humble, isn't
it? Joan, go on.
Yeah, I'm an emotional and technical support for Joan Hillary, and I have been for about 20 years. So if I can't actually contribute anything directly to your group, I will be contributing indirectly through Joan.
Oh, fabulous! Welcome.
So I'm a disabled IT worker. I've lived in London for 30 years. I'm now in Lincolnshire in my former family home, curating that and all the things that my parents collected that they've left behind in it. So that's who I am and what I'm doing at the minute. I'm broadly a socialist who's interested in improving public services, including education and healthcare, because healthcare has had a big impact on my life.
Yeah.
I've had lots and lots of orthopedic surgery in my life to keep me standing over end and walking about on the earth, and I'd like to see it continue.
Yeah, and that's good, and that's great that you said that, because I'm hoping that we're going to touch on that later. Welcome, and I hope we see you again, David.
And he also cares passionately about the Windrush pioneer, and my mother cares about him more than she does me.
Well, thank you very much for welcoming me to your group, and I'll go on mute and let you continue. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Dave, and then we'll go to Sam.
Hi, I'm Dave Williams from Dominica and Friends in Preston. Also doing the booms of Afro TV for Preston, trying to big up Preston in every way I can for the community as much as I can. Also do anything that Glenda's like getting me involved in.
He's good at that.
Okay. And of course we're wanting the whole of Preston to get involved with what we're doing in Preston.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. And shooting over straight to we're talking about injustice, and if anyone has felt any injustice in the last 14 weeks or maybe longer, or Marie, hi Marie, if anybody's felt injustice to themselves personally, and if you'd like to share that, and then Anthony's going to go further. Marie, just quickly, if you would like to introduce yourself. Sorry, everybody. We do like everybody to feel welcome.
Good evening, everybody. So I've not been here for a while, last few weeks. Marie, I'm Marie. I live in London, in Hackney. I work in child mental health as a family therapist and interested in the Windrush debate in issues. That's me.
Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you very much. Sam.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Right. My injustice starts in 2007, so it's a long, long time. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. My injustice started a long, long time ago, 2007. And I still live that same life even now because of the government dirty, stinking policies. I had 2 good jobs, yeah, good living, but for the actions, I'm living that shit life now because of them. And it's when you wake up in the morning and you realize the situation it's hard to, how shall I put it, to be normal. It's just it's just, how shall I put it, there's no word to describe it. It's just horrible to be living the same thing over and over again, and there's no there's no end of there's no light end of the tunnel. I mean, it's just, I can't describe it. It's hard to explain unless you live that life from then till now. And I don't say much, but I just like to say that's how injustice for me is still carrying on now.
And,
okay.
And could I ask you, could you describe injustice? Could you?
You had injustice mean you've been put in a position where you've got nothing. From having something that you fought for 2 jobs and it got taken away, that's injustice.
That's injustice.
Yeah. They were wrong, but they made you feel as if you were in the wrong. And there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, just took care of you and threaten if you don't sort this out, you'll be fined or locked up.
And is that...
So how they have... Yeah, go on, sorry.
No, carry on, sorry.
How can you contemplate, how can you not live this nightmare every day? You did nothing wrong. Well, I did nothing wrong, so did others. And they just tell you something that they knew was wrong, but still it didn't matter to them. I mean, so how can you live and be happy every day? You can't. Yeah, I might show happiness, I might joke, but it's a front. I mean, it's when you come back home now, you sit down and you know it's a long night, and next day it's the same thing over and over again. It's like deja vu. And you're wondering, what did you do to be in this situation? You did nothing. I worked and worked, and you got nothing now to show for it. I mean, that's injustice.
Sorry, Sam. It's something that we hear all the time when we speak to people like yourself.
Yeah, but can I say something?
Yeah.
You don't want to keep repeating it because people might think, oh, get used to it. But we're not. Well, I'm not making a fuss because you don't want to be classed as whinging. If you get me, you keep quiet.
Yes.
You don't let people know what it's like. So you just don't say nothing because you think that, oh, it's a long time. But it's not. It's every day.
Is that in limbo feeling where you're sort of...
Yeah. Well, that's my limbo. Repeating. I mean, there's no end result for you.
Yeah.
You see on TV how people are living the same thing, and you think how and why this happened to you, but you can't have an answer. You don't know why, because you've done nothing wrong, and that's the conclusion I come to. I've done nothing wrong. I mean,
yes.
And I'm here, well, with happy people like you and Anthony and Julie and Anna and all the rest that's here. I mean, but I just say I'm sorry for practicing on that's my injustice, because it's it's something that, again, I don't wish on nobody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
who would you say is creating the injustice?
Well, I'm not a historian, but what we read is the Labour Party, then Conservative. But what I was saying, I keep it short, yeah. They knew I was working 2 jobs. Why did they say to me, okay, we'll give it time to sort this out? I'll be happy with that. I mean, but don't tell me stop working. I mean, you get me? I don't understand how they could do that when they knew in all these meetings I had that it was wrong, and nobody gave a toss. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We as if we are nothing. I mean, we piece of shite. I mean, and that's the worst thing of all. Skin color, but deep down we're same. I mean, so how the hell are we going to tell if we're a piece of shite, and then They said, oh, FM, I mean, they don't matter. That's what I feel. That's what it is. Man, because I worked 1 job, 2 jobs, I loved it. I mean, I was independent. And now, I mean, people must think I'm lazy, but I'm not. I mean, I work night and day for 15 years. I mean, I'm going on like a parrot. That's me.
No. That's why we want to hear, because we need to hear what I call injustice. For example, I'm going to talk about the hospitals, and I feel injustice is happening right now. So, so we got the Preston hospitals here, the Preston hospital, and there's a lot of people, and color, not color, people of color, that's another debate of color, and are they being treated unfairly, and is injustice being done? So if you can't see your loved ones in a hospital, I feel that that is some form of injustice. And interestingly, it's because it's not happening to me, I feel like I can't do anything because it's not happening to me and it's not happening to my loved one, but I can see it happening to other people, and I can see the injustice being done to them, but I can't put what I feel on them unless they come and say they feel injustice. Anthony, do you want to say anything? Does anybody else have anything to say with what Anthony said, or anybody that would introduce themselves, or Julia, and I'm trying to think who else spoke. Oh, and Cecil. Cecil.
Yeah.
Julia,
I thought that
spoke about injustice.
What Sam said, you know, I felt that, and the thing that I feel is after doing the surgeries with a number of people who've been affected by the Windrush, I get into a situation where I feel injustice on their behalf for a strange reason, because when we have to then speak to the Home Office, because they say they've set up the group, the Windrush Stakeholders Advisory Group, to hear what's going on in the country with regards to the scheme, with a view to making adjustments to it. So you feel that sense of injustice. But in the last few weeks you're talking about, there was a lady that came on a call with the Home Office and was talking about the deceased person's claim. So with the Windrush scheme, there are 3 types of claims that you can make. You can make the primary claimant claim. So if you've been directly affected by the scandal, you can make a claim. If your relatives have experienced distress or spent money to support you because you were a primary claimant, then you can make a close relative claim. And also, if somebody's died and was eligible to claim, their estate can make a claim on their behalf. And this lady was saying that she was making such a claim, but the Home Office was asking her to get letters from her brothers and sisters, and they all had, she had 12 brothers and sisters, and it was very traumatic going around each of them, raking up, you know, what had happened with their parent that had died, and she was wondering why she had to go through all this. And I just felt a sense of injustice, because I knew what the guidelines said, and when I asked the Home Office the question, they couldn't really give me a straight answer. So I wrote to Dan Hobbs, who's the director of the Windrush scheme, you know, saying what I'd witnessed, and coincidentally, someone had also been referred to me that day who were having a similar sort of problem. So I was hearing it from 2 individual claimants that the Home Office was making them, you know, run around getting all these letters, when I knew from a legal standpoint that once you've got somebody's will that says who the executor is in the will, then that person is entitled to act on that deceased person's behalf. And I know that if you get letters of administration, then the representative is entitled to act on their behalf. And it says that in the guidelines. So I couldn't understand what it was that the Home Office was doing. Now you hear with the compensation scheme that the Home Office is putting additional burdens on people, in that they seem to be asking for evidence above and beyond what would ordinarily be asked for. And we've heard the term beyond reasonable doubt. They have to give evidence as to their claim beyond reasonable doubt. Now, in law, that is a criminal standard of evidence, because in civil cases, they say on the balance of probability. That's the civil standard of evidence. But the Home Office seemed to be using the criminal standard of evidence, which is much higher. And I just wondered, with the Home Office going, adding further burdens on, requiring people to do more than just produce letters of administration or show that they were the executors of wills. And so we were asking these questions, but we haven't really got any proper answers. And I just felt a deep sense of injustice that people have been really put through the mill to get the compensation that they're entitled to. And it was just an awful feeling. So that was my feeling of the sense of injustice, because you hear what's happening directly from people like Sam, and you want to make sure that you're directing them into the scheme that you know is going to do them justice. But at the moment, there are still horrible things going on, and you're just cautious about asking people who have already been traumatized to get involved in that machinery and be further traumatized by the delays that can occur with this compensation scheme. On a personal note, I haven't really had any direct personal injustice, but on behalf of other people who are affected, it does weigh on me, the sense of injustice that I feel when, the Home Office doesn't seem to be doing what it's been tasked to do. But ever hopeful, we hang on in there. I share these dilemmas with Glenda, and we encourage each other, and we carry on writing and cajoling and trying to move things forward.
Thank you. Has anybody else got anything to say? Thank you, Anthony. Julia.
Thanks, Glenda. What I would say is, I think I mentioned it a few weeks back when we talked about this. I don't think it was described as how you've put it tonight, Glenda, but something that has long stuck with me, and it was the fact that when my children were small, one was a toddler and the other one was in a pushchair. I was taking the toddler to school, and the teacher, or whatever they were, assumed that I was the nanny to my children, which has always stuck with me. And I think it was listening to something Alison Mallet said in her presentation on a previous conference that we had, and a very interesting one at that. For weeks afterwards and days afterwards, it made me reflect and think about how cruel people can be, and that impact of being so ignorant in their delivery that they don't think that what they're doing is going to affect us. And it stuck with me a long time. Well, after Alison's presentation, it made me think about my being as a person, as a woman, as a Black woman, my identity. And it made me feel about when I was a counsellor, my hair had to be straight, and when I braided my hair, it wasn't the done thing, because I was being true to my culture, and they didn't like it. They basically, in fact, I can remember one year they kept me out of the photo shoot because my hair was braided, and I will never forget that, because these examples do sit deeply and are long lasting, the impact they have on you. It's only through growth and being involved with groups like this, where you learn and you gain something and you take something away from you, that you can feel that you, look, I am different. I'm not going to apologize for that. I am Black, and the lack of melanin in my children should not have made her feel that she was justified in her comments. And also, when you think you're a civil servant and you're representing your local authorities, and you know they should be above and beyond that. But that's what reminds me how institutional racist they are and systemic in their ways, and it needs to change. Just because we are different, whether it be through religion or colour, that shouldn't come under scrutiny because of that. We're saying we are a diverse, multicultural nation that we live in, and we should be respectful and embracing one another and learning from one another instead of tearing people down. And I always feel too that when these people are in a position for far too long, there is growth and growth for ignorance rather than evolving and improving. So I've had a fair bit of it, and I just thought I would bring that back into the equation, because I'm speaking to Naz privately. And if you all remember at the very beginning, I said to her, if you don't mind, please drop the title BAME or BME or POC. These labels need to drop. You know, if I can think back to a board meeting or anything like that that I attended on, there was always a name plaque, and my name would either be Councillor Julia Davidson or Councillor J. Davidson. It never said my ethnicity. And I think, you know, if we're going to be respectful to people, we need to go back to that. And I think this is a privileged society for politicians and the authorities for further continuation to oppress people. And when they categorize people and put them into these pigeonholes because they think, or the system thinks that's how they can address people, well, I'm here to tell them they're making a huge, fundamental, grave error. And that's all I need to say for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Wow. And I'm sure you're going to come back tonight, Julia, because I know that's not good. That's not good to be, you know. Did anyone else have their hand up before I go to Joan?
Oh, no, the only thing I wanted to say was King Sam, stop apologising. You don't have to say any of that. Just say it. Nobody thinks, just say what you need to say. Sometimes if you keep it bottled up, you're going to explode and end up with mad like me. But I'm saying something funny, but you know I'm actually saying something serious, which is, with the right people who you trust, you don't have to apologise. And I think this is probably one of those places. I'll stop gushing because I know you don't like it.
Gushing. I love it. I love you gushing. I love Joan. We've got so much in the chat room. Darren, hi darling. Darren Bryan has just arrived. Colleen has just arrived. Hi, sweetie.
Hi, everyone. Hi there, Gloria.
Gloria. I'll be Gloria.
Glenda.
Fantastic. Darren, lovely to see you again.
Hey, I've been having, yeah. Apologies.
We're talking injustice at the moment.
Okay.
And if anyone has felt injustice, especially in these last months, 14 weeks, I'm looking at 14 weeks, but in general, has anybody felt injustice? And we're opening up a discussion. We've got a lot of new people.
I have a question, Gloria.
I'm just about to come to you, Glenroy. Glenroy?
Yeah. I just did you miss the Gloria bit? Yeah, just really, Anthony. I was fascinated by the story you were telling about the young lady trying to get compensation for her husband passing. But you seem to have been posing a question as to why did the Home Office need to do that? And I mean, I just really, have we not concluded why? I know you're a lawyer, the case is probably not finished yet, but it seems to me a clear case of, you have to prove your spouse is dead. I mean, I thought that's a death certificate, not letters from other family members. But, I was confused at the way you were posing the question as to why the Home Office was doing this, and really wondered whether you've concluded why they were doing it.
Well, until they give me some answers, I can't really say for certain. I imagine, because I've heard in the media, that the Home Office is putting an undue burden on people, more than what would be considered reasonable, so that the compensation payout is delayed. And we all know the maxim, justice delayed is justice denied. And so what the Home Office, well, what I'm told by these claimants is that the Home Office is asking them to get letters from their family members to say that they can put in the claim. Now, either the Home Office is assisting people to get letters of administration, or they are putting additional burdens on people who already have letters of administration. I don't know which it is until they answer the question that I've asked them, and they haven't answered.
Right. I can see the difficulty you would be in your profession. So let me help you out by saying it's racism. It's not anything else. If you were a white person and you had walked in, your partner has passed away, you would get the sympathy. But for anybody else, it will be a case of, can we prove that this person really is dead? Can we prove that this person in front of me is lying and doesn't really have a spouse, never had a spouse? Because the other thing will be to prove that they weren't even properly married, in the civil law and all that. And so many of our people are engaged in civil relationship. So they're looking for all of that. Even if you manage to go before a judge or a church and say the right words. So it's racism. You can't say it. You're in that profession. You're in the middle of a case. But that's what it is. It's racism. Nobody else would have been treated and expected to provide proof. What kind of proof can other members of the family bring to the table? The person who had suffered the loss was there saying, hang on a minute, you have a compensation scheme because my partner had died.
Yeah.
So that should have been enough.
Yeah, all I can tell is that the woman was quite distressed about it on the call that we were having. And she was describing that her family, or one of her brothers, was quite distressed with her having to bring this up. So I know that there's a lot of suffering that's going on, and I'm trying to, get the Home Office to recognize this and change the way they're administering the scheme. And I don't know if accusing them of racism is going to help.
Can I say one more thing, Anthony?
Is just ask questions to find out from them exactly what the process is that they're trying to effect.
That's a professional position.
1 second.
Can I just ask, have you heard of the white finger scheme?
Glenroy, sorry to interrupt you. What we must try and do is try and let each other finish the sentence.
Okay.
So that we get the full, otherwise we don't get the full.
Of course.
What they're trying to do.
Can I just ask Anthony? Can I just ask one other question to Anthony? Has he ever heard of the white finger scheme?
No.
And in case he hasn't, it's the issue where miners have been injured. They call it white finger because they use these dramatic drill, their fingers go white. Yes. And what the government have been doing, and successive government, is waiting for them to die, so they don't need to pay them. So we've really got to look closely at this. I'll leave it there, Anthony, because I don't want Sam to think I'm having a go at you.
Yeah, I made the comment last week that the government has estimated that the compensation that they'll have to pay out because of all the people that have been affected is going to be about 200 million to 570 million, and they've paid out only $1 million in like 15-16 months. So I was just saying we've got 200 to 570 years to wait for the rest of it to be paid out. So obviously that scheme is not fit for purpose.
Thank you, Glenroy and Anthony. And I know this is going a bit wider. Has anybody else got any questions, comments that they'd like to share? Please raise your hand, or there is in the reaction box, or the raise your hand. We're talking about injustice, Windrush, or something else, amidst the COVID-19, Windrush scandal, hostile environment. Darren, Dave? Oh, sorry, Julia.
You went full circle there.
She did. Thank you, Glenda. There's 2 points that I want to quickly raise, and then it can go back to where we need to be. Anthony's just said about law, and that is absolutely true, because in the my searching through stuff, I found that the Grenfell situation, because of COVID, yet again has been put back, and that was due to be discussed this month, I think. They've now just found out that that's been pushed back again. I don't know how far that's going to be pushed back to, but the news on the ground is that also again has been pushed back. Secondly, I did write off to the MP, my MP, as well as the Honourable Priti Patel, and I've had a response back. I know we're going to discuss that again in another thing, but the point for the email that I sent to her is about the widow PC Harper, which everybody's all aware of, who died, and his widow arranged for a meeting. She had an interview with the Honourable Priti Patel, and it was to introduce a law. Now, part of the email that I sent, and I think various member of the group also sent emails out, but I got a response back to, well, 2 responses. One to say it was logged last week, and my second response came today from my MP, because I copied him into the email. And basically, I think we need to continue more down that vein in order to change laws. If it's good for the likes of PC Harper's widow to introduce, now don't get me wrong, I think everybody can empathise with the fact that she's lost her husband, but the nearest thing closest to me that I feel aggrieved to, that would be Paulette Wilson, and that would also be Dexter from Bristol, I think he was. And I think if we did more of this to hold them accountable, to say what's good for the goose is good for the gander, we should all continue in that vein. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Julia. And there's something closer to our to the Windrush situation that has occurred. I think we've all heard that the government is allowing people who live in Hong Kong to come here and apply for British citizenship. And there are 3.4 million Hong Kong residents who could apply for the British, that could come here. But not only that, the government has changed the law because the guarantee that they had about British overseas territories passports is that it was only for people who got that before the handover in 1997. But there are a lot of young people who've been involved in the demonstrations and so on that have been fearful that the new security law that the Chinese government has passed could affect them. So the British government, in order to help people who are going to be wronged by the Chinese government, are giving precedent to them over their own citizens that they have wronged, because we're asking for a change in the law and nothing's happened there, not even a response from Priti Patel. But what the government has done is they're pushing through legislation so that people born after 1997 can benefit from this new opportunity to come to Britain and acquire British citizenship. And, you know, as I say, it's open to 3.4 million, whereas what we're asking for is to restore the citizenship status on, you know, about 13,000 people. I feel that that is a great injustice to, you know, treat one group of people so different from the other.
Can I just interject, Anthony? One of my students lives in Hong Kong, and I asked him to clarify, and the British government has said, these are my notes that I made about 6 weeks ago, I think, that they have to stay in the UK for 5 years on their own expenses, and they can apply for citizenship, but only in the 6th year. So I think it's pretty unlikely that many people will be able to afford. So I just wanted to clarify what I'd found.
Yeah. So what we're saying is that in principle, I mean, not all 3.4 million, but the offer is open to them. And, you know, what if 500,000 came? What if 50,000 came? It's still far in excess of the numbers that we're talking about. And that the government is saying, yes, they can come and live and work and apply. You know, with the Windrush people, they've worked here for 50 years. So it's not that we're asking the government for any free ride or anything. We're just asking them to right the wrongs that they have admitted to.
And they've done.
And we're saying that, you know, we're not saying don't give the opportunity to Hong Kong residents to come here and live. We're saying that if you can change the law in order to facilitate them to come and live, why can't you change the law so that people here won't run into the problems of being put in detention and deported?
Correct. As anybody else, Alison, I love what you wrote earlier. Have you got anything that you'd like to add, or has anybody else got anything they'd like to add?
Well, I think what I'd like to add is that during this pandemic and the lockdown, that I had about 6 weeks of feeling really low. And I felt low because my grandson, who's 12, went from being a really sort of excitable young man into being quite depressed and worrying about walking the streets, being stopped, and a whole range of things. and then a friend of mine who's has a nephew who is Pakistani and English. His mum heard him praying in his bedroom that the police wouldn't stop him. And the children I'm really worried about. And I'm a chair of governors at our school, and I had a meeting with the counsellors and the head teacher recently where I asked for support for the children coming back into school who had endured during this lockdown all that they saw on the TV, how they saw their parents reacting, the depression and all of those things. And what we've done is put together some counsellors of colour so that children have somebody to talk to. But we've also got 3 events happening in October in Black History Month where people, you know, the Let's Talk that I did with you the other week, and 3 sessions of that from 10 o'clock in the morning till 12:30, and then from 1 till 3:30 for 3 days, the 8th, the 15th and the 22nd. And it's getting young people from colleges to come along and tell their story. Again, to share. Like I was saying before, I write when I feel anything. The only time I write a poem is when I feel something. And while I've been on here tonight, I have felt, I've been moved, and I've written a couple of poems, one that I've shared on there, and one that I've got here to put on my computer tomorrow. So I think it's really important to think about well-being in this time, because quite often we don't sort of take care of that area of our lives. And I think it's really important. And thanks to Joan and everybody else who thought I was having a bit of a meltdown, but I was actually being inspired by you. So writing down, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Anybody else got anything? Michael? Michael asked, what's the government's real motivation to helping the people from Hong Kong? I'm just looking for other questions. Naza's had to leave, but she says thank you, and I'm sure she's going to come back again. I'm just looking for other questions. Colleen and others was asking about the white finger and what it is. So if anybody's got anything else to add or any comments or questions. Michael, Darren, Jen, Daniel, love to hear from you what your thoughts are. Colleen, Dave Williams.
Just to pick up, just to pick up on what Alison's just said about Black History Month. We also have been having some engagement with the police around the use of force and the excessive numbers of people that have been tasered, the stop and search and so on. And what they've agreed is that during Black History Month, we're going to have some discussions with senior officers, and we're hoping that we can do some of that on FreeTalk. So we're talking, when we say senior officers, chief constables, assistant chief constables, and so on, about the policy of the police in terms of the service that they give to the community, the kind of data that they collect to show that they are giving the kind of service that they've been put there because to give, because really, you know, some of the things that we see that the police want to do, for example, in Greater Manchester, they want to put 20 police officers in schools, and they say that it's an idea of the mayor, and that schools want it, but it just seems to me a recipe for more disasters, because if outside school they're already using excessive force, what if they start using that inside school? It just begs belief that, you know, somebody could think that's a good idea, but there we are.
Thank you. And it's interesting because, as I said, when we were talking about injustice in the system, I made a note earlier and talking about the hostile environment, which a lot of this comes from. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because whether it's the police, whether it's at work, whether it's at your doctor or the health, your council, your union, what injustice do you feel? And it's really interesting because a lot of people are really scared to come forward. They will tell you, I mean, I've spoken to a lot of people today in the last few weeks, even by some of the comments on social media, but a lot of people are scared to come forward. And I know we've got some union representatives here and councillors, but people are scared because at the end of the day, you got them held hostage because they don't want to lose their job. Let's put it. They don't want to lose their job, so they don't want to come and confront you unions, employers, and others about what they're feeling.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think who had their hand up. I think it's Colleen. So I'm like devil's advocate, Raj. Colleen.
Oh, hi, yeah. Just in response to, you know, like your well-being and working from home. I work at UConn at the university. I'm an admin assistant. And at the moment, there's not much for me to admin. But I find that at first, when it first started in March, I had my emails on my phone, on my iPad, on my laptop, on the works laptop. But I was just anxious all the time, thinking, have I missed something? Have I missed something? But now I've calmed down a bit, so I just have it on my works laptop and that's it. And if I miss it, I miss it. But I think working from home, I am missing the banter with my colleagues, the office snacks, and you just feel like you're in isolation. You really do. I mean, apart from the local neighbours that I see, you know, as you know, I've been in my property a long time, 28 years. So, you know, for me to get some kind of contact, I'd go to the shop or just walk around the block to speak to somebody. But I feel like I'm in isolation, you know, even going to the park, you know, you're smiling at people, they smile or they don't smile back. Or if you, I remember once I was walking through the park and there was a lovely oldish white couple. I was smiling and they just give me a wide berth. I was like, why are they giving me a wide berth? I'm trying to be friendly, you know, with the facial expression. I think it's harder now because you've got to wear the mask and you can't really see what people convey through their eyes. And, you know, so, yeah, I find it a bit difficult at times. I will admit I am a bit lonely at times. I think everybody is at times. But, you know, I keep myself busy by dancing in the kitchen, decorating, my flowers, you know, just, but yeah, it does affect your mental health. And, you know, I'd be lying if I said it hasn't done. But, you know, I'm a strong individual as we all are, but yeah, it's a different way of working, especially with my team. They've told us that we're not going back till at least January, at least, so it's going to be a long time at home, so my house is going to look mint, but I don't know where my well-being is going to be, what my well-being is going to be like, because I usually like to travel. I'm usually planning my holidays. I've usually booked a holiday to India or somewhere like that by now, but so yeah, it's just that thing of being isolated and being a single person as well. It can be quite difficult. But, you know, you've just got to get on with it, haven't you? And also another point I'd like to raise in regards to the police, racial profiling. One of our members who does the cooking for us is called Chris. He's a white guy, he's married to a Jamaican woman. He's an ex-army guy. And his daughter was driving from Bristol in a brand new BMW private plate from Bristol to Leeds to pick up her books for university. And as she's travelling to Leeds on this major road to Leeds, she gets stopped by blue lights come behind her from the police, and it's all caught on the dash cam. Next minute, armed police block her so she can't go anywhere because her profile didn't fit that car. There was her, mixed race girl, she's 21, she had three brothers and sisters with her, and they stopped her and they said the reason why we stopped her is because this car has been seen in prominent places in Leeds. And she went, I don't think so, I've just driven all the way from Bristol. You know, now luckily this young woman is clued up, she's actually doing immigration law, studying, she's going into a second year at Leeds University. But from what Chris said, it was just like, you know, it does happen. It is happening to his daughter. She has a lovely brand new Mercedes, you know, private plate. Now, if it was a white person, would they have stopped that person, you know, that young person, these 3 young people in the car? I don't know. So anyway, a mother was that furious. The young girl took the police badge numbers. The mother drove up from Bristol, went all the way to Leeds, then to Manchester to speak to the police there and then. She got a verbal apology and a written apology, but her mum's not accepting that. She said, I want more. I don't know what more she wants, but she did go and speak to the police. And the police officer who did the report, what he said in the report wasn't what the daughter said. So he lied to her face. And then when they show the dash cam, all right, so officers lying, officers doing false reports, the dash cam is telling the truth.
Wow.
So I'd just like to put that out there to everybody.
Thank you, Colleen. Yes.
You're welcome.
Colleen, have you considered bubbling?
Pardon?
You considered bubbling?
What's that?
What's that?
Well, the Prime Minister says that if people can have bubbles where if you're living in one household,
yeah,
and share with, you can have someone from another household come and spend time in your household.
Was that a proposition? Because I'm also living on my own.
I mean, I don't really listen to the government. You know, if I want to go in my neighbour's house, I'll go in her house. So I haven't got a bubble. I'm sorry, I haven't got a bubble. My neighbours let me in, my friends let me in. So, you know, but my other friends who live in like Birmingham and Leyland, they're a bit more further away. But my friends in Leyland don't let me in.
Go on,
you know. We do a lot of Zooming, but I just have my own bubble. If I want to go somewhere, I want to see my friends, my family, my son and my grandchildren live in Morecambe, I just go on the train if I want to see them, and vice versa. I don't have this bubble because I don't believe it. So, you know, but yeah, I'll bubble with you if that's what you want. I can bubble up. Bubbling, whatever. Yeah.
Colleen.
Yes.
Colleen.
Yes.
I would say, can you get behind me, love? Because Anthony's meant to be bubbling with me.
Oh, champion bubbler. That's what they call him, champion bubbler. Champion bubbler.
But I'm happy to share if that's okay, Colleen. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I'm very sharing. I'm very caring.
Hey, 1 minute, Anthony.
Hey, Sam. Yes.
Sam,
Anthony. Fight.
I didn't hear that.
Fight.
Again, it's very interesting, isn't it? Because that's again another form of injustice that's being seen.
Yeah, this young girl. It only happened on Saturday. You know, she drove up to Preston to see her dad. He was in Preston. She said, "Right, I'm going to Leeds to pick my books up. I'll take my brothers and sisters with me." She got on this major road to Leeds. The police stopped and said that your car has been seen in prominent places, when it actually hadn't. And the officer went back to the police station, wrote whatever he wrote on his report, which was false because she spoke to the chief officer and said, well, look at the dash cam, front and back dash cam. This is what the police did and this is what they said. So, you know, this racial profiling, that took place on Saturday, and I was just like, wow, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And thank you for sharing that.
Because usually you hear it happening in like big cities like London, Birmingham, Manchester, not like Preston. I don't know, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Has anybody else got anything to add to that or wants to ask a question?
I think, thank you, Glenda. No, I didn't put my hand up. I just want to come back to what Colleen was just saying. I think it's very important that we don't lose what Colleen's just said there, because although I know we just had a little bit of humour time, I think had the young lady not had a dash cam in the car, it would have been her word against theirs. And this is what people of colour, black people, are always saying all the time. We're not believed, you know, whatever our references are. If we say, no, this happened, we're made to feel like we're the ones who are telling lies. And, you know, sometimes it does make me wonder, should I invest in a body cam or something like that, because we know what's going on and where is our voice in a situation like that.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the young lady was savvy enough to obviously deal with the situation, and obviously her family were very supportive, and then, you know, made the journey to the various police stations to obviously hold them to account. But it just goes to show their reporting and their delivery in terms of what actually took place had been amended, should we say, to reflect their truth and not what they actually did. So I think this is a story that perhaps could go to what was the Labour person's name who talked about racial profiling. She wasn't driving her car, but the car got pulled. Who was it, Anna?
Dawn Butler.
Yes, Dawn Butler. And I think if this, thank you, Anna, I think if this was a situation that could be as a genuine example, and how the mother got them to respond to her. And if she says what the more is, I think the more is the fact that police do tell lies, the system is flawed, there is no confidence or trust within the police force. And I think the chief superintendent for the Metropolitan Police should actually step down, because she indicates that there isn't this behaviour that is going on within the police force. And yet again, here is another example in as recent as a few days on Saturday. And I think we should, if Colleen's family would be forthcoming in accepting that, to go forward and raise it, it could be looked into, because we've got to hold them to account. We have to make this information accessible out there so it can be challenged. And I don't mean in a negative sense, but I also mean in a way that if we are asking the system to change, they have to accept responsibility when they've been caught out to be lying.
Yeah, and that's true. And yes, the mother and the father will be speaking up, because it's actually Chris who helps with the cooking on Friday, and his wife is actually coming up on Friday to give us some advice for the cooking. So she's ready to speak up. I mean, at the end of the day, she had a younger siblings with her. Her youngest sibling is 11, 15, 18, and the driver was 21. And like the girl said, you know, when they went to the police station with the mother, the officers was telling us a totally different story on his report. So when they saw the dash cam, it's like, all right, here's a written apology, here's a verbal apology. Mum said, that's fine, but I want more than this. So I think the mother will take it forward. Definitely. Yeah.
And I think that's what we found, isn't it? I think what we're observing is the more that you know and you're equipped with the information that you can do.
Yeah, because like I said, the young girl knew, you know, they've got a new car that she's bound to be stopped. It's a brand new car. No one's ever driven it apart from her. The reason why she drove down, you know, was to give the car a good run. She's got private play, you know.
Yeah, didn't she? She came to see
it. Makes no difference, does it? I mean, she's just driving a car to Leeds, and the fact that police said your car has been seen in prominent places. She's never even been in Leeds. She didn't even get to Leeds. She got on the road to Leeds when she was stopped. Police behind and armed police. So a young brother who's 11, he was quite, you know, obviously
upset, mortified.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, and I think I mean Jodie's not here right now, and I mean I had a great talk with Jodie today, and this is why Jodie was saying that about, and we say it, don't we, all the time, about all the free talks that we've had over the last nearly 8 months. So it's about documenting all this information.
Yeah.
We talk to the police, all of us, and I know that. But again, whether it's the council, the police, the council, the police, education, all the establishments, it seems to be like they're doing a good lip service. Unions, no disrespect, Raj and Glenroy, but it does seem that everybody seems to be doing sort of a lip service to the concerns of the party members or your constituents. But again, it seems that for people, every day they're going through this, whether it's impacting them at work. There is a lot, and I haven't touched on this yet, but there's a lot of injustice in work.
Don't get me started about injustices at work.
No, don't.
I went through a lot at work. I went through an awful lot, a lot at work. And even recently, we do a thing called clearing at UCLan, you know, where the students who don't meet the grades, they can ring up and join university by doing a foundation course. The VC sent an email out to all the staff with the government's advice, and the top people who are at risk are Black people and Asian people, and then the list goes down like that. So I couldn't do clearing. I filled out the form, and my manager said, we're all full now, Colleen, you're all right, you know, we don't need you anymore. And I know that my Asian friend, because she's in student recruitment, she was allowed to do the clearing and get the overtime pay, whereas I wasn't. But they didn't make it like that. They said, we're all full now, Colleen. I went, okay, but Mister's doing it because she's in student recruitment. So she's recruiting students, so she was allowed to do it, but I wasn't allowed. And like I say, at UCLan, I had a lot of, you know, stuff happened to me in terms of moving up in the career. In the office that I worked in, you know, I took it to union, I took it right to the top. I was going to get them on discrimination at work, and I was going to get them on, what else was I going to get them on? I can't remember what the term is now, but they were ready to try and sack me, and I was going to fight it all the way, you know, because I was being racially targeted. I was singled out for 12 months, you know, I had panic attacks, I was on medication. But the thing that annoyed me was that they made me go through all this nervousness, all these panic attacks, and then when I was going to take them to the top of the union, there's a job here for you. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really difficult in places like institutions like university. As you know, Alison, you've done our training for us. It's very difficult, and very subtle. You know, very subtle.
Thank you. I've got Raj.
Can I just interject there? Sorry, my husband's just come in and interrupted.
First, can we just? Oh, sorry. Sorry, Julia.
Sorry, Glenda. My husband's just come in and interrupted and said, has anybody seen the news on the group? Apparently the Americans, in America, there's a militia group, and white militia group and black militia group, and they've armed themselves with guns, and it's kicking off there. So I just wanted to say that I knew something would be happening, but I didn't know when. But my husband's just walked in, and apparently it's making the news. So
thank you. Raj.
Yeah. Well, when you said the word injustice, it's such a big word, and I didn't really know where to start, because you know, you could talk about Grenfell, the fire, and you could talk about unfair dismissals, talk about racial discrimination, you could talk about many issues, and that's injustice. What has happened historically to a lot of our people, Black and Asian people, we had to live under imperialism in Africa and colonial rules in India and other part of the countries, the world. So historical justice has been there, and the justice in modern times, which is now, is continuing. I mean, discrimination and institution racism continues. I mean, you're talking about trade unions. Now, trade unions and Labour Party, or even some left organizations, if you look at them, they are also institutional organizations. They've been around for many years. And don't forget, trade unions marched for the National Front, the dockers, when the dockers went on strike against employment of migrant labor in the 60s. Don't forget the Dagenham Ford works. The lorry drivers was only white-only jobs. So, you know, there have been discrimination. We gradually have moved towards some kind of fairness and equality. But this, not only in historical injustice, but it's in my opinion, it's in the DNA, and it's going to take a long while for us to get equal fairness in terms of equal treatment between black and white. It's not gonna, you know, we're not gonna eradicate it overnight. And how we do that in a political level, or organizing in communities, or organizing in trade union, it's going to be a continuing process. So I think we made a start. I mean, this movement that's developed in America with George Floyd being murdered, and the Black Lives Matters, it shouldn't be let to die, because it's important in terms of trying to get fairness, and because it's been historical. I mean, Trump is causing all the problem in America, and Boris is not helping here in terms of trying to address issues of institution racialism. And Trump wants to create a civil war between black and white. And, you know, if you remember the old Black Panthers in America, they were absolutely right. I mean, people say to me or other people that Black Panthers were wrong. They weren't wrong. They were defending their people at the time.
That's right.
That was the only way they could do it. And Trump wants to take us back to and create us, because his only motivation is winning the election, winning the presidencies. He doesn't care. Trump is Trump. He's just about himself. So he wants to create a race war. So I think, you know, the fact is that all of these years, we suffered the most in going back to the slavery and transatlantic slavery, and what's happened in India and elsewhere, where white imperialism had oppressed us for hundreds of years. So I think our fight is, you know, it may seem slow at a snail pace, but unless we continue this, we are kids gonna be suffering as we suffered. So, you know, don't forget that nurse who came, Ida, she spoke at the Windrush meeting. She came to this country when, even before the NHS was formed.
You're talking about Mary Seacole?
No, Mary Seacole was one of the nurses, but even before, we had a nurse who gave us a historical account how she came from Caribbean to on a ship, which wasn't the Windrush. It was 2 years before the Windrush. Okay. And she gave us the accounts how she worked in Ashford Hospital, then she worked in Hammersmith Hospital, and you know, she learned the trade, and she was a carer, then she became a nurse, she trained, and One thing I liked about her, she was so positive, saying that, you know, she doesn't regret any of the fact that she came to Britain and she got into the nursing and she devoted her life to nursing. And even now, so she was so kind of inspiring. And there are a lot of people, I mean, we mustn't forget, our older generation is here. Some of them may be in their 80s or 90s. And we need to get their accounts. History was written by people who were the slave owners, and they still exist. It's not just the statues. Okay. History has to be rewritten and the truth need to be told.
Okay, thank you, Raj. I've just got a comment here, and which is interesting. And as we wind up, as it's getting a bit late, because we wind up by 11 o'clock, well, 12, 1 o'clock. A report this morning, and then you, Jen, I can see your hand. I can see your hand. A report this morning that 62% of Black and minority ethnic people say that they have faced discrimination by the NHS. It's been denied and lived experiences being minimized. I'm with that one. Union member Black, in brackets, called on Monday to say a union leader had posted a racist stuff on their social media and a gollywog and the N-word, but unions are not doing anything despite the complaints.
Can I just say, in relation to what Colleen said and what Alison has said and what Sam has said about the injustices that they've faced, it makes me so angry, and this is the only place that I hear this. And I'm a white person. This is the only place that I hear it.
What do you mean?
And this is the only place that I hear how people suffer from racism. It's the only place that I hear. And I know that my previous work, I used to work with, I set up an organisation to help refugees in Preston. I think I'm shaky because I'm hungry, but I'm also really emotional. I set up this organisation to support refugees into Preston, help them to learn English, and my idea was to integrate them into society. And there were about, I don't know, 20,000, David Cameron 3 years ago welcomed 20,000 Syrian refugees to the UK. And people came as families, and they had to prove that their lives were persecuted, and so they had to apply to become refugees. And everyone wants to work, and of course, with the media, there's been a lot of backlash against them, and there have been racists. A lot of them have experienced racism, and because the government pledged money to support them, there's a lot of support specifically for Syrian refugees, to support them with language learning, to support them with integration through interpreters and so on. And that was one of the reasons that I wanted to leave, because I felt that there was one group of people that were having a lot of support. And what I'm trying to say here is that there are many people in the UK that really are interested and want to support refugees and asylum seekers. So because there's a lot of, because volunteers that want to support people, refugees and asylum seekers, there's a lot of, because we've kind of organised befriending schemes, and they have been victims of hate crime. And so there are many people that are very compassionate, white people, that want to support them. So what I'm trying to say is that people in this group, and I think should be attending these events that are put on for refugees and asylum seekers, like the one that I put in the chat. At the end of September, there's Lancashire County Council are putting on a hate crime and victimisation session. It's aimed at refugees, but it should be aimed at everybody. And it's an opportunity for Black people, for Asians, or from people of colour, I don't know, I don't like the labels, but people that aren't white, to be able to talk about being victims of hate crime, being victims of racism, so that people like me that have never experienced racism, but I'm beginning to know that it exists, can hear you talking about it. And I know it's a terrible, terrible thing to talk about, and it's only in this safe space that you can do it. But I think that other people that support refugees and asylum seekers can begin to start to see from the perspective that I've been seen it for the last few months, as I've got to know everybody and earned your trust, and so you know that I'm a person you can share these terrible stories with. And I think that it needs to be more mainstream, but of course, I haven't experienced it, so I can't imagine how difficult it must be to express these feelings in the mainstream. But if I can at least tell your stories on your behalf, then I would like to do that. But if there's anything you can suggest for me to further support you, please do.
Thank you, Jen. Oh, you're so sweet. Answers. Yeah. I've got Glenroy and I think Julia. Anybody else raise your hand in the reaction box? I'm hoping everybody stays till the end. Oh, and Raj. So we got Glenroy.
Yeah, Jen. I mean, you got to remember that so many. I mean, some of the issues around Windrush and the psychology, I think, as a part to play, where perhaps the so-called Windrush generation don't see themselves as migrant or refugees or any thing like that, and have a natural association with other migrants, new migrants. I mean, I think it's a discussion we need to have at some point. How does the African community from the Caribbean see their relationship with those people who are drowning in the Mediterranean? One day we should have that discussion, because I think we'll find that there's very peculiar feeling in that regard. But I really put my hand up. I was going to call you Gloria again, but it's probably past now. To say, does the story you read out actually name the trade union that's not doing anything? Because this is the trouble. They try to just paint the trade union movement rather than
that's Alison.
We can specifically deal with it, and even if it's an industry, you can tell us about, because we've had a situation in the underground where our sister union ASLEF has a trade union official who's got swastikas tattooed on his leg and on his neck. And when we report that to the bosses, it's the bosses who are preventing any action being taken against them. But of course, the members see them as members of ASLEF, not management protecting them, So really, if it's possible to know what union it is, so that we can actually work with other trade unions to take some action, that would be very, very useful. Thanks.
Thank you. Wow, that's another point, isn't it? Wow. Thank you for that. Alison, I'm just looking. Who else had? Julia, Joan, sorry, Joan. If you could, sorry, Joan. If anybody has a question, because I've lost track, if you can use a reaction button to raise their hand or a thumbs up, and I know that you want to say something. Joan, and then Julia, I think Alison. Go on, Joan.
Yeah, no, I was going to keep. Sorry, go on.
And Dave. No, you're first. You're the first to speak.
Okay, I was only going to keep it brief, and whether we should have Stafford Scott come and talk, because he does a lot on fighting racism within the police force, and he might have some guidance, or there might be groups that people can join just to be able to share their experiences, as well as what Jen said. But he's quite good at giving advice. That was all.
What's his name?
Stafford Scott. He's a celebrated sort of campaigner against police brutality. I can give you a bit more of a history, but I can introduce you to him. But he says it all really well, and he reflects all the things you're saying. And the thing is, I don't know a group that a person can go to share their experiences on this particular subject, and Stafford might know.
Okay, that's great. If you can, well, we can talk later, because we're on the PR and admin media group.
Okay.
We can maybe write to him and invite him to our group.
And also provide, maybe there are groups where you can actually just go and say what's just happened to you and make yeah, roger that.
I agree. Thank you, John. Julia and Raj and David.
Okay, thanks, Glenda. Just to go back to Jen, again, I feel your heart, Jen, and you shouldn't feel any way about wanting to express yourself on how you feel, because there's one thing that I've gathered from this group and taken from this group is that it is a space where you can speak freely and confidently without recriminations or reprisals. It's about coming together, and if like-minded individuals, more of us, did this, what a better world we would live in. But to answer your question, there isn't such a facility in place to enable young Black people or mature Black people to go and express areas where they feel that their human rights has been affected or otherwise, or something, as you're saying tonight with the debate, an injustice happens to them, whether it be in the workplace or outside of the workplace. The thing is, as an ex-councillor, we used to say, you know, there was a situation that happened, and it was about racial attacks on the Asian community. And there was lots of them that had come through, but there was never, not one forum for which Black people could go to and say, this has happened. And I think the reason for it being is, again, it's not believed, or go away, you're being silly, or it gets talked down, or it gets, I think you're oversensitive, or they use all these responses which doesn't make you feel Yorick as a person to come forward and say anything. So we are then tasked with going home and sharing that with your family, and then trying to deal with it as, you know, an individual in your family. And that's if you've got a family. So if you haven't got that mechanism of a support family group, then you're having to deal with that yourself, and then that does have an impact on your mental well-being. But what I will say is, what I've noticed is, because of this COVID and because of things that have happened for the past several months, if you notice, there is lots of facilities out there to enable people who are non-whites to put in for an application for this, that, the other, and indifferent. And it's funny how these organizations all of a sudden now are using that to be if it's an organization which is predominantly white, make sure you've got one token black in the group so that we are eligible to put in for this and put in for that. And I think, again, we are grossly being used all the time. We don't get the voice, we don't get the platform, we don't get the forum, we don't get the credentials to go up the career ladder. And when we do, we're accused of all kinds of nonsense that I'm not going to go into now, but it just goes to show that we are not seen and recognized as our counterparts or as our colleagues for whatever reasons. Now, I know we've made strides to make that out there in the open and to burst that inflated bubble of theirs, but it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of people, either in HR, in human resources, in policies, in the infrastructure, within a framework of companies, in order to recognize that. Because when somebody of color goes in to report or have that appraisal or supervision, and when they want to share it, unfortunately it gets taught down because people don't come in their numbers. Remember, it's only treated as one individual. Yeah. So we do need a forum. We do need the likes of our MPs or those people who are Black and representing to stand up and actually do represent us as people. And whether you are Asian or Chinese or Black or Jamaican or African, somebody has got to do it, because I think the reason why there's never been an opportunity to do it is because they won't allow it. So until those ideologies get broken to the point that people do begin to embrace not just the idea of it, because I think people are now realizing that so many mistakes have been allowed to happen, and that's why they've got themselves into this world of silliness, is because that silliness that they've allowed to fester and grow has become a huge problem for everybody. And the world's, don't get me wrong, I don't know what the other side of the coin would look like, but I do know the world is a good place. But unfortunately, the people who are running the system, and Trump in particular, and I think Boris Johnson has also got a hand in this, because when things are brought to his attention, he seems to be in ignorance of it, or he doesn't feel it's happening. And when he's addressing, you know, the country, he's only speaking for a proportion of people and not for everybody. So I think the whole system needs to be reviewed. It's long overdue. The Home Office, dare say it, is responsible as well. And the people who have been given those roles to supposed to be there to help are hindering and making the situations worse for everybody. And I think people who don't share into this debate or want to talk in this debate is because they're interested to see what the Windrush are doing in order for them to pick out the points that is going to be reflective to them to help their situation. So we, you know, I've often heard the term, we are the flagship. For as much as we get scrutinized and kicked and put down, we have that resilience and that tenacity to keep coming back and keep trying to shape things and keep trying to point out the discrepancies and the disparities. But unfortunately, there's just a token few that is making it so that it will never happen. And the same way that we used to have those, I've said this before, where comedy was always at the butt of Black people. You you know, from Love Thy Neighbour, and what was the one with the West Ham scarf round his neck? What was that comedy? Alf Garnett, was it? He was in that.
Yeah.
You know, when you think of all those sitcoms that used to be on TV in the 70s and the 80s, and this is the knock-on effect from that mindset and that way of thinking that's been allowed to frame legislation as it is, because in those horrible programs, they really put Black people down and said, you're lucky to be drinking in our pub and you should buy the drink. I will never ever forget that, and those of you who are of an age will remember those things. You know, I can remember seeing those things. Yes, Jen, yes. And I can remember those things all the time. And like the Black guy who was in one of those programs, who was the domestic hand, we've never evolved from being seen as waiting on people, to be subservient, to be servants and the likes. And until they admit responsibility and accept for the guilt that they've caused, then we've got lots to do.
Thank you. And it's interesting. Oh gosh, we could talk all night about that. Going on to portrayals of communities and organisations, etc. David, I think it was David who had his hand up as well. David Wiles. David, you there?
I'll just text him now. Carry on, Lady G.
As we got on, oh my God, what a great night. I can't remember who else wanted to say that. If you've got anything you want to say, just wave to me. Raj. You're muted, sorry.
Yeah. You know, I listened to Jenny Rankin's emotional kind of, I wouldn't say outburst, but kind of views. I mean, when I came into this country in '63, I was 8 or 10 years old. It's a long time ago. If you haven't experienced racism, when I at school, I was called all the names under the sun, from a wogue to a nigger to all sorts of other names, and at school, which was predominantly white, and we only had I think half a dozen Asian or Black people in that particular school in Hounslow, and I remember clearly. And if you have an experience, when you go leave school, you got to get on the bus to go home. Your school bag has been pulled from you, and you've been pushed around on the bus. If you haven't experienced racism at work, when you apply for some job, and it's always the white person who gets the job opportunity, not you, although you might be more experienced, more qualified. And same thing happens in terms of other institutions. I mean, I've been a trade unionist since I've been 20. Now I'm getting on 67. So I've been a trade unionist for a long while. And all I say to Jenny is, unless you actually experience being bullied, being pushed around, and not being given job opportunities, you will never understand. You will never understand what we have to go through. And we don't want our kids to go through the same thing. So
Raj, I was a primary school teacher in a very multicultural school, and I think that the school, I've told Alison about my school, and I think that school in East London was a pioneer in many ways, because it celebrated and everybody's, or from my perspective, from what I understood, it celebrated everyone's cultural backgrounds. So we'd celebrate all the religious festivals with the children, and they would bring in religious artifacts if they were religious. And then during Black History Month, the kids would research their own chosen Black role models, and it didn't matter what color they were, everybody did it. And it gave children a real sense of self-worth and a real sense of identity, and like what Glenda said before, like a sense of belonging. And I think every school should be doing that in the UK. But I mean, I mean, of course, I'm not going to understand, but I think by listening, it's giving me the momentum to try to encourage more people to come to this meeting and to try to change the system. You know, like, for example, our local council is all white, and councillors have said, oh yeah, it should be more diverse. But it's not just about being diverse in colour, it's about being diverse in opinion, because it's about perceptions. Like, of course, you know, like you say, I will never understand racism because I haven't experienced it. But at the same time, I'm listening, and other people don't get the opportunity to listen, and therefore deny it, and therefore it will never change.
Unconscious bias, that's what, 2 words, unconscious bias. It's with us, it's ingrained in us, it's taught to us in schools. You're a primary school teacher. I don't know what your training was to become a teacher. You know, I was a nursery nurse for 7 years. I've done my BTEC in nursery nursing, so I've worked in an education environment. I also worked for Sept Walsh with the Black and ethnic minority group, working with Black children and gypsies, Romani travelling people, sorry, because they said at that time that these children who were Black and who were travellers were underachieving. So, you know, I know about the education. It depends on what your training is and what. It begins at home, though. You know, it all comes. Well, I think it starts at home. You know, what you're brought up with, your education, when you go out socialising, your opinions. So unconscious bias. You're not. You know, I mean, it's like Chris, who spoke at the first. I wasn't there, but my sister was there. My nephew was there. He spoke at the first Preston Black Lives Matter. He was a racist. And he spoke openly as a white man in the army. He was a racist, and he changed his way of thinking when he fell in love with a Black girl at the age of 14. But up until then, this young boy was a racist. So it starts at home, and you've got to open your mind. And like, you know, we're of an age where we've got grandchildren, and my grandchildren mix the brown, white, and white, blonde hair, brown hair. You know, so I can see it in them. I can see it in my grandchildren that I need to try and educate them and have their own opinions and be proud of who they are. You know, I've got our Jess, who's just turned 12, but when she was about 7, Nana, I don't like my curly hair, and why am I brown? And I've got Levi Jr., who's white. Nana, when am I going to turn brown? And but I'm a Black inside, aren't I, Nana? I'm a Black man. I am a Black man. I said, you just Levi. You are yourself. You know what I mean? Yes, you are a Black man. You know. Because that's what it's going to say on when he fills those forms out when he turns 18. What ethnic minority are you? Is it going to say mixed, Black or white? I think my Levi will say he's Black, because that he identifies more with Black people, and he has done from a little baby. He always goes to Black men and Black people first before the white person. So it's I don't know. Anyway, that's just my little rant.
Thank you. No, it's true, and it's interesting. It's so. Do you know what really gets me? Because you said it before, and I think it started with a conversation I had with, I know Jodie's had to go and she's gone to work. And Jodie is, I think she don't mind me saying this, Jodie's mixed race. Jodie's mum is white. Jodie's father was Black. Jodie's father was from Barbados. And she was telling me today that she was, throughout her life, victimized, bullied, whatever you want to call it. And her grandfather, who's white, died. and left them some money. So even though he didn't like them, the black children, grandchildren, he did leave something for them in the will. So what she was saying was, I'm using my inheritance, her inheritance, to educate and change things. And then when she was telling me the story, her story, because I'm saying to her, wow, they class me, I'll say it again, I don't see myself as just a black woman. I see myself as Glenda Andrew. And if anybody's got a problem with that, that's their problem. But I'm Glenda Andrew. And I have children of mixed heritage, English, French, Italian, you name it. And she was telling me, even up until a week ago, her nephew had been to Italy. And in Italy, someone had called him and said to the friends, he's about 18, you're all right, you're all right, your color's not all right because your color's dark, or something like that. So what we're saying is the injustice that we feel, that is what I was looking at tonight, is how we define injustice, because I think we all feel it sometimes. Like what I was saying to my good friend Sakina, who our founder, when she said to me last week, I've not seen my mum in hospital and we're going to wind up soon. She said, I can't see my mum. My dad's even saying to me, he don't want to speak to anybody, I just want to be left on my own. Her mum is up the road. I mean, literally 5 minutes from where I live. And she can't see her mum because of this corona. And I'm thinking, what is going on here? Why is it that we have to feel injustice because of the color of our skin? I don't want to say, well, do you know what? Because that's what it feels like. It's like, if I was white, would I be able to see my mum? Would she be able to see her mum? And then the council says, well, I think you're making some derogatory terms. No, this is fact. This is real. This is really what's happening. Because I or she is of color, you're not letting me, and you're giving me all kind of reasons, because I don't know if there's people on here. I know there's people, I'm not going to call them out by name. They've been there. They've been in the hospital. They've been told in the hospital. This is not happening in the hospital. So why is it that people are being shut out because of the color of their skin? That's all I'm trying to say today. Windrush, COVID, Black Lives Matter, deportation. I mean, someone sent me an email today to say to me, deportations are still happening. They're still happening. And we are sort of being like, no, they're not. Well, hang on. I got someone saying to me, yes, it is. It's happening. And it's only happening because someone is saying, you really don't matter. And only because we've got a group like this. And what I'm saying is, like, whether you're black, white, or whoever, we don't all get it. But until, and I think Anthony said it to me right at the beginning, there's blame and there's experience. Because unless you experience it, you don't know it. But we can't keep blaming the government. We got to do something ourselves. We, the community, we as individuals coming together has to do something. I think David, I could talk all night because I'm blown away tonight. David, you had something you wanted to say? You had your hand up, David Wiles.
I didn't know, thank you. No, I think I was just adjusting my posture at the time. But you maybe thought I was indicating that I had something to say.
All right, and keep adjusting, keep adjusting.
I mean, when I was speaking to Joan about your group, because I'm aware that she brought the BBC to your attention a few months back.
Yes.
I'd been speaking to her mother, who I'm sure you're aware is Grenadian,
yeah.
And came into Preston in the 60s on a banana boat. And she told me this about 9 months ago, when I was talking to her, it was after I'd had a hip replacement, and she was visiting me quite regularly and bringing me food, and I started talking to her about how she came to the UK, and I think at the time Joan wasn't even aware of where she'd come in to the UK, but I'd managed to. Well, she doesn't need much persuasion to talk.
Don't be disrespectful.
I'm not. But I was curious about Preston, and I had a brief look on the internet, as I do. I had a wander around on Street View for a bit, and I read the Wikipedia page, and as I gather, it's a textile town that has.
Not like that now, I don't think.
No. But it's obviously seen some wealth.
Mm.
There are some quite attractive. There's an attractive square with some nice big houses around it that made me think a bit about Liverpool and what Liverpool looks like. I just wonder what Preston's like. Are you a Preston resident yourself, Glenda?
Born and bred. I'm Lancashire girl.
I can tell you from Lancashire, but I wonder
gosh,
if you.
am I? And this is and it's amazing because
Glenda founded this group with Sakina, Dave.
Right.
So I'm gonna say it like this. This is the truth. Oh God.
What's the Preston experience like, Glenda?
I'm born here.
Mm.
And it's only my mum comes from Dominica and Antigua.
Yeah.
In the 60s, 62. My dad came from Dominica in 1961. I'm only learning about more about their experience, real experience now.
Mm.
However, in 2000, I got married. I got married in Italy, and I swear to God, I will never forget it. And my dad couldn't be there to give me away.
No.
My mum did. My dad became ill, and my mum gave me away, and it was beautiful because, how can I put it? I was brought up in Preston, so we're a little, like them. I don't know, maybe the mining villages, like back in the day. So to be able to be in a foreign country in Europe, because Europe was classed as, if you could go to Europe, you were doing all right.
It's quite exotic, isn't it, Europe?
Yeah, so the idea was, if you've gone to Europe, you're doing all right. And I went to Europe. I've met this guy. I've fallen in love, all this kind of stuff. Got children, and I'm getting married in Italy. And I will never forget it. And we've got a villa. All the family have come from Preston to this wedding in Italy, and I will never forget walking down. And my mum she's going to give me away because my dad couldn't be there.
Oh.
And and we took over that place. But someone kept saying to me, what's the connection with our black community and that place? Because I felt like, I can't express it, honest to God, even now, I've been there before. I remember the minister speaking. I cried all the way through the wedding. I cried literally all the way through the wedding, because it was like, I'd been there before. I understood every single word he said. I don't speak Italian, but I knew what he was saying. And what I'm trying to say is, even now, my children, so I've got 3 children. One lives in Malta. My daughter she's backwards and forwards, but Italy, where we got married. And my other son is here. But what I'm trying to say, there is a connection between all cultures, all races. I can't even put into words. And then today, like I said before, we had a meeting today. And I just think that injustice is seen by all, but experienced differently. And I think Black, Asian, minority groups, especially Black, Asian, minority groups experiencing it in such a way, but they need some platform. They need advocacy. They need someone to act on their behalf, because like I think it was Jen who was saying, it's very challenging, especially for people from the white community who really, really, really want to support, want to help, especially because they are in relationships, they have children. Jody said it today. She said, I think she's 34. Her mum's white, her dad was black. And she said, and it's sad, she never got to go to any family event because she weren't allowed. Do you know what I mean? And I'm saying to her, and that's happening to you today? And she said, yes. And I'm thinking like, wow, that's 2020. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't imagine my children of mixed heritage not being able to go black or white, African, Caribbean. And we got to remember those children. My mum, you know, we got to remember those people. We got to remember our family, our mums, our grandparents, our aunties and uncles. And we got to talk. We've got to talk to each other, because our children are still going through it. And like I said, she couldn't be it, because I think most of you heard her at the beginning. And she's saying that was up until a few weeks ago. So I've digressed a bit, I've rambled on a bit. But the reason why I wanted to talk about injustice is because how can we help and assist people who are feeling injustice at work, in health, the criminal system, education, and I'm missing one, and community. And community is really important, because if we don't have relationship, we haven't got no community.
Absolutely perfect, Glenda, and I totally agree with you. But I think what Judy was saying before she had to go off, Jody, sorry, before she had to go off, taking it right to the horse's mouth and putting it down, and like Alison is saying, what are we going to do? Action is needed instead of talking. And I think collectively there is a vast amount of experience here, white, black, mixed, whatever the case, whatever the genre we come under. You know, everybody's saying enough is enough. And that is the thread that is going on from week to week. And I think, you know, maybe one of these funding forums out there, we should be able to tap in and visualize it. You know, if it means that we have to stand up with a plaque and letter A, go through the alphabet and spell out everything that we feel, you know, warts and all, how we're being discriminated, how we're being held back, how we're not given the opportunities to reach our potential, how we get discriminated as Black women to say, oh, are you thinking of getting pregnant? Where do you see yourself in 3 to 4 years? You'll be thinking of having babies. Wow. And those kind of stigmatic, awful comments that are thrown at us, which would never happen to somebody who is Caucasian, you know, but to us, they think it's a given. This is what I'm saying. And the reason why, sadly, the likes of Jen has never had that experience is because her colour is her armoury. She wears it well, and she will never face those plateaus that we get all the time on a daily basis. Even to shopping, and you go and pick out, I don't know, a cauliflower out of an open basket, because you've touched it, you can see how people respond to you. Yeah, it wouldn't worry me if somebody else touched it. If I want a collie, I'm going to buy a collie. But unfortunately, these are the things that happen to us as people of colour. Now, how do we get that out there? And more importantly, our Black men, yeah? Now, I'm not married to a Black man, but our Black men are ridiculed by their physique, their manhood, their how they want to socialize, what they do, what they don't do. You know, they get stripped down, they get torn down. I mean, when you think of George Floyd, what happened after George Floyd got murdered wasn't the fact that he was murdered that went round the internet, although that did. It was what he was doing in a club, why the young ladies in the club who had an association with him were in a physical content. That is what got put out. Now, when will that nonsense stop? You know, who decides to draw a line in the sand and say, stop it? Yeah? You know, the thing is, we are all human beings. We've got our feelings, we've got rights to our own emotions, and nobody is there to turn around and say to us, it's okay. What we do as a race is turn the other cheek. We'll pray. Almighty Father, give me the strength to get through this day so that tomorrow we can wake up. Well, unfortunately, you know, as much as I'm throwing those prayers up there for a change, like Alison in the chat room, and like Naz has said, and like Raj has said, and like Anthony says, and like Colleen says, like Glenroy says, and like Dave has said before, and like my sister Joan has said, you know, we need to put by the lip service and stand together as one and say at Parliament, you're no longer dictating to us what you think is right. We are the Parliament because you've crapped on us, you've abused us, you've took advantage of us, you've made us feel like we've got no worth, you made us feel like we were invisible, you make us feel like, you know, 3 jobs I've had to do at one time to just equal the pay of somebody who is white.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not right. And I bust my hiney for it. And no, I didn't go on the streets because that's what another generalization that they give black women. You know, it's got to stop. It's got to stop. And yes, it does have an impact on our children because what do? We try to protect them. We say, you know, things are going to change. It'll all be all right for you. You're coming. We're the ones who are opening up the doors to give you the opportunities. And that's why young people, young black people are saying, we're not prepared to wait until we're like me, 50 odd, or like Raj, 60 odd, to make a difference. You know, like Glenroy. You know, Glenroy's beard is time served. Yeah? When is it going to change? Why has the Cecils got to feel that even though he's in a position to do something, he's still being held back by his counterparts because they don't fully embrace what it is that we've got to give? And this is not me being anti-white. Far from it. I'm saying there's scope for everybody. And during that scope for everybody, we've got to come together to make a situation that is acceptable for all peoples without anybody feeling that they're not appreciated or respected. You know, Naz, the young lady, said to me, Julia, well, what term should I use? I don't like BME. I mean, she's now gone out of the group and she's now gone out of the chat because
she'll be back.
She'll be back. Yeah. But she's asking me, stop using it. If you want to call me by something, call me by my title, which is Mrs. Julia Davidson. Correct. If you want to know my colour, then ask me. But don't categorize me into some pigeonhole that suits you or justify the system on how they feel they should treat me.
Julia, you are absolutely spot on. I was on a Zoom last week with the National Governance Organisation because I'm a chair of governors at my local school, and the woman used BAME the whole time. There was 54 people on the Zoom, and everybody said, please do not use this. And what she said, out loud was, this is what we're using at the moment until we found something else. This is what we're going to use. And it just all went, because people are not being listened to. And that's the thing about this whole agenda. We have to listen to what people are saying. We cannot minimize their experiences. We cannot talk over them. We cannot talk for them. And, you know, and I've got to go back to what Jen was saying before, is it being the first time that she's experienced that. I believe that Jen is an ally, and we need to use allies. And I've talked about our Let's Chat that we did a few weeks ago on the 8th of August or whenever it was. And I said, we do this in 2 sections. This first section is the affinity group, where it's just the Black and minority ethnic people. And then we bring the allies in. But actually, because Preston Windrush has done so much in their journey so far, we were able to do it all in one. And the issue is that our values are set from up until the age of 20, and they don't change unless we have this thing called a significant experience or event, a C. So if you're brought up in a homophobic, sexist, racist background, you do not change until something happens to you. And what's happening here is that people are hearing, like Jen, what is happening to Black and minority ethnic people. And despite the fact that she's not Black, she has had that significant experience or event, and she can change things. People who are of a different colour are powerful. They can work for you. On that NGA last week, a woman said, and she was brilliant, I'll send you a name later, but she was really good. And she said, I'm a governor, I've been a governor forever, but I've tried to get on. I wrote in and nobody acknowledged me. I did 5 or 6 applications. Nobody did anything. Black woman, she said, and a white person that I knew who had that white privilege then put me forward, and now I'm a governor. And what we have to do is to use our allies to get to where we need to be. And it's really, really important that people like Jen support us. You know, it's absolutely crucial, because you cannot do this on your own. It's really, really important. And I really feel that in terms of equality and diversity and belonging, is that we need to stop talking and act. And I was on the Stand Together last night. If you've not joined the Stand Together, please join the Stand Together, because they're really, really good. They've got funding, they've got a whole range of things. Go onto their website, Google them, and they have a meeting once a month, and it was last night. And basically what they're saying is, we need to act. And there was an organisation saying, well, you know, we're just in our infancy, and, you know, we haven't got very far. And I said, well, we've had 40 years of legislation, for God's sake. You know, race equality has been there. You need to be further than this. And we've got to have that voice. And if we haven't got that voice enough, we're not standing up enough, we're not speaking up, nothing's going to happen. And I say for this group, is that what we need is an action plan to say, this is what we're going to do by 2021, this is what we're going to achieve, this is what we're going to do. When I was head of education in Manchester, when I went there in 2001, they had a plan called Agenda 2010, right? And their Agenda 2010 was to eradicate racism in the city council in 2010. And I'll tell you now, they had a plan. And when I left in 2005, there was so much that had been done because they had that plan. It was absolutely fantastic. So let's get a plan, let's work with it and deliver on it. That's all I've got to say, and I'm going to bed.
As we wind down, I'm going to...
Glenda, please.
Wait 1 second.
Before I go, please. We talked about the police. We talked about the police before, right? Yeah. We've got a military force. We've got an air force, right? Those are to protect us, right, as a country, right? They're paid through our taxes, right? We pay our community tax locally, right, to fund the police. The police should not be a force. It should be a service. And this was tried in the early 90s to turn the police into a service as opposed to being a force. Because a force means what we are experiencing now, right now, right? The police are coming down on us. And that should not be the case. They should be protecting us. And I'm quite willing to stop paying my community tax, Am I?
I'm with you as well. I'm with you.
Because we should not be funding them. If they're going to treat us like this, we should not be funding them. And that's all I'm going to say. Listen, everybody, thank you very much, and have a good night. Bless.
Thank you. Why aren't you saying any more, Cecil? Why aren't you saying any more?
Why am I not saying any more?
Bedtime.
How much more do you want me to say? I'm going to end up blowing up the world if that's the case,
We got the matches.
Well, let's light the fire. Let's light the fire because we need to be seen. We need to be doing some action now.
Yeah.
Right now, we've got the ability to put in some action, right? And as Julia said, enough talk. I've been listening for so long. I've been talking for so long, and I'm tired.
Yeah.
And people say to me, "Oh, you can't rest yet. We only just started." No.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna rest because I'm waiting for you guys, everybody.
Yeah, I'm coming.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Listen,
I am going. I am right next
Come on,
to
David.
you. No, but I was just going to mention David. David is a very dear friend and has been incredibly supportive for about 25 years because I'm a pain in the arse. But one thing that David has done is learn to understand my world and my mum's world, which has made him an ally. And now, and that is what is brilliant. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. And as we wind up, because like I said before, experiencing, because I've got my experience, but I've got my mum's, I got my brothers, I got my sister. A very good friend of ours passed away last week. So I got that experience. And it hasn't hit me yet because he died. And he didn't die of COVID. And that really peeves me off. But I know that he was there for my brother. And I think that's what's really important to me as well. But in hindsight, I meet people all the time, especially doing this. Seriously, we meet new people every single day. There are a lot of people who really support the Windrush generation, the descendants. We had Morrison's on the phone today. We had the pub, we had a meeting today. So there are people who really, as allies, support what we stand for. And it's not color. You know what I mean? It's not the color. What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is, as we meet every single week, we do action a lot of stuff. You might think that we don't do anything after this meet, but I can assure you, we are moved. It's like something's like, something lit. I got to meet Raj because of Joan and Julia. There is something moving us every single day. I hope Anthony's here because it's weird. He's gone silent, isn't it? Isn't it, Glenroy? But what I'm trying to say is this: there's a movement happening. I don't know what it is. Jodie said it today, and she agreed. Windrush for me is like a catalyst. It's something significant, something moving. Windrush, Black Lives Matter, Glenn Floyd, even down to Paulette's funeral last week. The funeral coming up on Thursday with Clive, and I know that everything is connected. So as we wind down tonight, and I really appreciate everybody coming here tonight. Sam, where is he? He's there. His testimony. Dave Williams. Do you know what? Do you know who you look like just then? I looked at you and I felt like, Oh, what's his name? What's that? What's the footballer? You look like the footballer. Oh God, what's his name? It'll come to me. You look like the footballer, and I thought,
Ian Wright.
Ian Wright.
Right.
You look like Ian Wright for a moment. I was like, is Ian Wright?
Younger Ian Wright. Not now. Younger Ian Wright.
Yeah, you look like Ian Wright. Last week you looked like Benson.
So this time you're wrong, Glenda. You're wrong this time.
Benson,
Not
oh
right.
my God, you're mashing this man down.
Hey, Darren.
Can we wind it down, Glenn?
But we're going to wind it down tonight. Honestly, it's been absolutely amazing. Please share any questions you want for next week, what you'd like to talk about, and really, honestly, absolutely fantastic. And we really want to hear from those people who've been affected by the Windrush scandal. If you've not been getting your case aired or it's not been sorted, we want to hear from you. So I'm going to go to Darren. Put your video on. And I call him,
oh Lord,
call him out because Darren and Anthony are like brothers to me. So Darren,
yes.
Come on, give us your feedback for tonight and what you'd like to see in the future. And
yeah, as always, a very good night indeed. Very nice to hear from the ladies whom are mixed race, to hear their opinions as well in terms of how they see racism from their point of view, because it's not always easy from anyone's angle, to be honest with you there. But yeah, always nice to know from what they believe their experiences are, and sometimes it's not much different from one who is quote unquote full on black. So yeah, very interesting there. But definitely the conversation that's flowing very well. What is this, my fifth time with you guys now?
It doesn't matter anymore, you're family.
So yeah, and the conversations are always welcome, always brilliant, very open, very non-judgmental. So yeah, that always helps just to encourage everybody else to stay their peace as well. And as you can see, it's a great group we got. We've got black, brown, white. Yeah, everyone's here saying the piece there. So yeah, very good. Let's keep it going.
Thank you, Darren. And hope to see you again next week. And I want to hear more next week, hopefully. Maybe you can talk about the party. Because I've had a lot of people inquire about the black political party. So I'm hoping you can speak for about 10-15 minutes, Darren.
Got it.
Fabulous. Glenroy, where are you? Glenroy?
Hey, greetings.
Greetings, my dear.
Yeah, greetings. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm having a problem with the audio here. Yeah, just quickly to say, one of the things I've noticed is that sometimes we're struggling with the hard facts about the situation we find ourselves in. This is going to require some very clear commitment, because the enemy, it hasn't relented, When this whole issue of so-called Windrush generation started, part of the philosophy was that they saw us as low-hanging fruit. And terms like hostile environment and those kind of things, they're very, very clear, determined way of doing harm to some people. And I get the impression that we're still trying to find a comfortable way out of this. And lots of people have said tonight about, we need to get on with the fight. But I still think that we're holding back. There's a fight. The enemy is fighting. They're beating the crap out of us. They're pulling our trousers over our head and giving us a good kicking. And I get the impression that we are still looking for a way that we can resolve these issues, get compensation, because as I said, I introduced myself, my role and organization is about demanding reparation, repairing of the relationship. But I think too many people want to just go along to get along. And I think we're going to be in for a bit of shock. So I think some of the push that here from people, really, we need to make that more crystallized. But it's probably not as clear as I want to make it. Just really,
You made a good point.
we're in a fight. Please remember that.
No, and I like what you said there, because it's what you're saying is like, it's, although I call it lip service, what you're saying, I think, is like, it's you're only skimming the surface of what's really happening or what really people feel. So it's about going deep. Like when me and Sakina ended up at the put it this way, when Sakina called me and said about, I'm not British, and I said, what a lot of, I use stronger language, and then we ended up going to the Westminster. I remember sitting there, and the room was packed, and we're looking at David Lammy, and there's Jackie McKenzie, and there was El Watt, and we're looking at these people we see on television. So for us, coming from Preston in Lancashire, it was another world. Honest to God, it was an absolute other way. And when David Lammy said, and I said, my name, I put my hand out and said, my name's Glenda Andrew, I'm from Preston. He went, we know who you are. That freaked me out. I thought, what do you mean you know who we are? If you know who we are, why aren't you doing something? Do you understand? So I get what you're saying, Glenroy, because I think we're skimming.
I don't think we are. I don't think we are, Glenda. Sorry. I totally agree with what Glenroy was saying. Reparation is long overdue. But unfortunately, this system is allowing a situation to happen where it's not dealing with one state of affairs before it moves on to the other. What the system is so very clever at is putting everything in one basket, but not dealing with any one matter at all. And that is why the whole thing is neither one or the other. And there is no continuity to it because it's not being allowed. The system is not allowing the government to actually address, you know, almost like as if when you get put into the system, it's logged, it's dated, and you expect to turn around and a response back from it.
It is happening.
Pardon?
It is happening.
It is happening, but it's a very slow process. And the thing is, you know, Glenroy, I hope you don't feel by whatever was said tonight that, you know, the urgency for what we've said tonight is a caveat to add on to the reparation, what is entitled and what is due and long overdue and has not been addressed. So I just think because the dynamics of stuff, what's happening, and it's a continual hamster wheel, you know, how do we say?
I see how it's a circle.
Yeah.
So I see it's like, if you look at Scotland, Scotland is more of a socialist country, and they seem to be more caring of the population. And I see England as a capitalist country, and it's a very superficial society.
Correct.
So skin color is, because it's a superficial society, people judge you on your skin. And we can be the same inside, but because we're not going deeper than that, and because people aren't having discussions like this and analyzing, like Colleen said earlier about the unconscious bias, because we're not having these honest conversations, like Darren said, you know, in a safe space where it's non-judgmental, it's the white people in power that are not looking deeper, that are making the decisions that they think is the right thing for everybody. And that's why it takes people who have black skin, dark skin, people that are being discriminated against, to be outspoken. And I think it's really hard unless we create more of these safe spaces because if you're going to have a discussion with a white majority, you know, it's like Glenda says, it's lip service. And I think it means giving people in this group that place to be outspoken. Like Nuida said to me today, like it takes a I don't know what word to say, like an ethnic minority or a black or a person of color person to make the changes.
It will only make a change if we get given those positions, those seats at the table, because the race equality board person is non-black. How the hell they can have somebody who's non-black trying to tell black people how they should live and how they should be when they're not representing by employing a person of black to hold that position?
Because the colonial mindset is still there, and that's the problem. That's the problem. Even with diversity reps, you know, the head of diversity at the BBC was white.
That's precisely
and that's our ongoing problem that we're all talking about, isn't it?
And
yeah.
That's precisely it, Joan, because at the end of the day, until we are given those positions to be able to look from the inside out and put those recommendations in place for that infrastructure, nothing will ever change.
Can I just say, though, that it's really important not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I'll just use an analogy that my first degree was in teaching students with learning difficulties and disabilities. And I used to teach teachers to teach people with learning difficulties and disabilities. And I did it for many, many years. And I got my degree in 1981. And in 1997, I snapped my Achilles tendon. The hospital did it all wrong, and I was in a wheelchair for 3 years. So the theory that I'd learnt in the course and at university was the theory, and the practice told me that what I was doing in the wheelchair and how people were treating me and how people were viewing me was very, very different. And that made me realise that to be disabled, that gave you that additional, like you said, that lived experience. But it didn't mean that I didn't have the experience. I had the experience from the degree element, but the lived experience gave me a little bit more. And I think that if you mix with people, you live with people, you hear people's stories, that you can still do that work. And it's really important that we don't throw the allies out, because the allies are really important, and everybody isn't the same. And I've experienced it. I said, when in the lockdown, when I've gone down for depression, the two people that brought me back up were white allies, and that's because they understood and they knew what I was going through because of their experience in life and their husbands and their backgrounds and a whole range of things. So I think it's really important that we embrace what is positive, and we look for what also still needs to be done. So it's not a case of everybody is the same. It's really, really important. Yeah,
that's very true. Until we can get that level playing field where we have got that kind of representation right across the board, then unfortunately the same system that we're actually seeing with how the government deals with anything, such as Grenfell, such as Black Lives Matter, such as Windrush, and all the other atrocities that's been allowed to happen. This is the system that, I mean, you know, dare I say it, Priti Patel wouldn't like anybody calling her BAME.
And I think that's really important. But I've got to say to you that until I was 28, I did not realise that I was BAME. And my brother was telling me all these things that I needed to do, all these things that and I was in denial of all of these things because I wanted to be a chameleon and I wanted to fit in. And it isn't just people who are white that behave like this. We've got a lot of black people. I watched a program on the TV the other night, and I can't remember what it was called now, but the woman that was on there black woman denied that racism was taking place. And there were so many people phoning in and saying, you know, who is this woman? But you are where you are in your journey. And I know that when I was 28, I was not where I am now. And, you know, if you cut me in half, my DNA is around equality and diversity and race, right? But at 28, that's not where I was. And that woman on the TV, I saw, and it really...
Again, you know, we're talking truths here, and this is very true because, you know, there are some people that will not listen or will not engage in that kind of conversation purely because either they've been hurt or they've had something that they can relate to, which was a bad experience. And it's about getting it out there for people to be able to heal, for people to be able to move on, for people to, you know, stop thinking that their sons are always arrested and they're being discriminated and, you know, they're dressed in a certain way. All these characteristics that come into play will either shape or mold or change.
And she was actually saying that black people needed to take accountability for their behaviours, and the reason that police were treating them like they were is because they were aggressive, they were mouthy, and they needed to behave appropriately in order to be treated better. And you know, we've got to go with what she says, and it totally was not right what she was saying, and so many people were ringing in and saying it wasn't right. And what we've got to do is try and help to educate those people to get them to where I got to by the time I was 28, because I wanted to be a chameleon, I wanted to fit in, I didn't want to raise my head above the parapet, and I knew that, you know, if I did, I'd have to be out there, and that's what I'm doing. And that woman, she's, you know, major person on TV, and she let me down and let us all down by the things that she was saying that night. But we need to educate people.
Wow.
Well, if I may add, once again, we've got to be very conscious of how society is set up. Once again, black people in general, we don't own the media. So once again, we don't have a voice. And what they want to put out there and portray is always going to come out their agenda. So that lovely sister of ours, she was put out there with an agenda. You're going to say what we need you to say in a black face.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So yeah, it's always going to be that. Ironically, sorry, I'll quickly finish. I actually got a little clip from Malcolm X when he was talking about, there was doing some talk. Now there was what, now I've only heard it audibly. Now I actually saw the video where they then pulled in another black man and literally said everything opposite to what Malcolm X has said. No, I don't think we should follow one man. Oh, I think a lot of Negroes feel sorry for themselves, blah, 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 blah. Literally saying verbatim what any white man would like to say who was a bigot, so to speak. But, you know, hey, we need a black face to say what we want to say. Literally picked him out of the crowd just by chance, and he went full force with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, she did that. She did it, and I was appalled.
But doesn't that make us feel that we've been greatly let down? Because all this hard work and all this coming together that we've been doing for the last 6, 7 months, 8 months, and saying we're not all like that, you know, this stereotypical, which goes back to this labeling. It's like me saying to my dad, "Dad, you want to hear something?" And Dad goes, "Sure, me. There's nothing you can tell me that mean I know already." But every day.
Say that again, Julia. Julia, say that again.
Yeah. Behave yourself, Anthony. You know you when I get all hot on you. No, what I'm saying is that analogy that we can't learn something, you know, is embedded and it's almost ingrained. And it's us who have come this far to say, no, we still can learn something. We've still got a way to go. And we're trying to make people's attitudes change from that perception. Now, don't get me wrong. You are going to have you know, a few who are going to stick in their lane and be that way and continue in that vein. But you know what? I'm very much a person about hope. And the hope that I would say is when they see us collectively here in this group tonight do something, those people who were steadfast with that mindset and not wanting to come out of their lane will come, because they will see that we're being treated with respect. Yes? And until that time, you know, unfortunately, we can only keep doing what we're doing and not be derailed from our path, because the system is geared to allow that to happen. And I can remember, I almost said his name. I won't, because I don't want to be pulled over the coals, should we say, because you know how sometimes things can come out. Well, he actually said, give them enough rope, they'll hang themselves. And when I heard that, and that was a professional person saying that, I just went, that's it for me. That just told me everything in all those years as a civil servant that made me feel, wow, nothing has changed. So.
Yeah, Julia, that's an issue that I was thinking of, because a lot of the injustices we're talking about are things that we're going through now or experience now. But often people say, if you want to know where you're going, you have to know where you're coming from. And I remember back in the 70s, there was a series called Roots.
Oh yeah.
Which got us all talking. And there was a part of that where